I swear that guitar solo it literally never gets old. I don't know what it is. At the end, it just hits the same every time. Greetings and salutations, everyone. My name is Kiorkof, and welcome to our Sunday afternoon live stream for August 16th, 18th. Sorry, the lights are a little bright. 2024. Welcome, everyone. You guys hopped in here pretty quickly. I literally just put up the stream like, I don't know, 18 minutes ago. And I mean, there's already 100 people in here. Welcome. Hope you guys are doing well on this wonderful Sunday. Hope you guys have been relaxing, enjoying the weekend. And now we're just here to talk all things fantasy football for the next couple hours. If you guys have a question, of course, type it in the chat. If it has a specific, scoring format that you want me to answer it in, please include that because that'd be greatly appreciated. But outside of that, we're talking all things fantasy football. We'll go ahead and we'll conduct some drafts together. Of course, that'll be later on in the stream. I'll put a link in the description or in the live chat, and then we can join and get everything going. Hope you guys are doing well. I did plan on putting out a video today, but I thought it's probably just more impactful for those who are in the neighborhood on a Sunday at home still. Let's just talk all things fantasy. What do you guys have? Let me see your teams. Do you have questions? Do you know what pick you are going into your upcoming draft? Let's talk strategy. Let's do all that kind of jazz. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop up the live chat in the YouTubes, and we're just gonna go. We're just gonna write it from the bottom and just what does it say? Speak on top kicker for this upcoming year. Okay, so let's talk about that really quickly, Javier. So what is this? How many other picture Andrew as a guitar? I'm not a guitarist. Instruments are not my my. You know what my greatest instrument is? The keyboard. I'm a keyboard warrior on these streets. Okay, no, but in reality. Let me correct this really quickly. Let's shove this a little bit that way. Beautiful. Look at that. But in reality, yeah, no. Anybody who's a musician, you guys are crazy. That stuff is incredibly impressive. Okay, so let's see here. Before we get to Javier's question of talking about keeper question from Keegan Yap. Keegan, what's up, man? Keegan says, a keeper league, 6th pick in a full PPR. Who do I draft? Also, who do I keep? Puka in the 8th or Nico in the 10th? I'd keep Puka in the 8th. Additionally, after that, in a keeper league, 6th pick overall in a full PPR, who do you draft? Keegan, I'd love to know who else is being kept in your league because that really does make the difference in terms of being able to determine who's available. But let's say, for example, the best available players at the 6th overall selection are between Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Bijan, and Breece Hall. I'm typically going to go with Amon-Ra there more times than not. The second selection out of that group would probably be Breece Hall, and then Jefferson, and then Bijan. So that's kind of the order. But again, I don't know who's available in your league. Okay, so in terms of Javier's question, first and foremost, Javier, speak on the top kicker for this upcoming year. I think it's very fair to just first and foremost say Justin Tucker should be the number one kicker in fantasy, mainly off of consistency alone. Because every year we will get a random kicker or two that'll be in that top conversation. Last year was Brandon Aubrey. He came from, what was it? Was it the UFL or was it the XFL that Brandon Aubrey came from? He joined the Dallas Cowboys, was a top tier kicker in fantasy. And then additionally, also Cairo Santos last season for the Chicago Bears was really good for fantasy purposes. The consistency of points there were great. But objectively, Justin Tucker should be number one. I think a sleeper kicker this upcoming season, absolutely. Just keep in mind, for those of you who are, in the final rounds and you maybe don't want to go ahead and select a kicker early, Kaimi Fairbairn. That offense there for the Houston Texans will be in a lot of shootouts this season. I think the secondary of the Houston Texans isn't as great as they should be. They definitely got a good up front seven. They're good at stopping the run. They got a decent pass rush. But if they're going to be in a little, in a couple shootouts, especially early in the season, Kaimi Fairbairn, not a bad one. But yeah, it should be Justin Tucker as the number one. I think, Brandon Aubrey, everyone's favorite kicker of the Chiefs, Harrison Butker should be in that conversation. I think Dustin Hopkins of the Cleveland Browns, very underrated kicker prior to getting injured last season. I think he was averaging like 10.8 fantasy points per week. Crazy numbers, should continue. He's really good in kicking in tough weather scenarios as well, which is obviously great why he's the kicker for the Cleveland Browns. Anyway, Brian Robinson looked nice. I didn't even watch any fantasy today. I literally just finished recording tomorrow's video just right now, and now I'm hopping on live just to see what's going on here. Let's see here. Let's go drafting 12-man full PPR number 2 pick. Who are you taking? if CeeDee Lamb has a contract, I'd like to have CeeDee Lamb on roster. If he doesn't, at that point, I'm happy going Tyreek Hill. Assuming, of course, Christian McCaffrey goes number 1. BZ, what's up, my man? BZ always, literally, in almost every comment section and or live stream, obligatory supportive comment. Thank you very much, BZ. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Dylan says, are you drafting a quarterback in a 6-point per passing touchdown league? Where are you drafting? Excuse me. Sorry about that. Right or wrong. Where am I drafting it in a 6-point per pass? I'm selecting a quarterback. Okay, I'm selecting one of the top 3 quarterbacks, Allen, Hurts, or Patrick Mahomes, in the first round. They're a first-round selection. After that, when we get to talking about guys like Lamar and the potential of Anthony Richardson, they're less in terms of their overall potential in comparison to the top 3, the big 3. They have less upside because the passing touchdowns aren't going to be in the same conversation. But when we talk about Stroud, Burrow, Jordan Love, Dak, if they're going to throw 30-plus touchdowns this year, these are guys that are going to be of value. But yeah, I'd like the top 3 in the first round. Outside of that, second, third round, I'd look for those, the 4th, 5th, 6th round, 4th, 5th, 6th ranked quarterbacks in the second or third. But again, you kind of have to play it by ear. Just depends on what your league does. But if you can get a quarterback that can score 500 points, 100 extra points more than any other quarterback, in the form of Allen, Mahomes, or Jalen Hurts, I think you should take advantage of that. Moby Michael said, just had a draft, don't feel great. Moby, just type your chat or type your team in the chat. I'll give you my honest opinion on it. What should I pick at 12 in a PPR? Ryan, So after doing so many mocks the last couple days in a 12-team full PPR league, I think if you have the opportunity of taking Jonathan Taylor, then pairing him up with a wide receiver, I think you should. That's probably the best plan of action as of right now. All right, we did see a super chat sent in from Keegan Yap. Keegan, let me go ahead and answer this. Keeper League, 6th pick, 2 questions. Who do I draft? It's funny. I answer your question regardless of the fact that that's just good timing, I guess, huh? That's just good timing. Okay, there's another super chat sent in. Let me go. Why did that not load? James Newton. Okay, James Newton. Let's go ahead and get to this question really quickly. So James says, in a full PPR, running backs are Jacobs, Henry, Pacheco, or Etienne. Let me pull up my rankings. So let's go here. Let's open this up. Let's pop this up here. And let me go ahead and let's pull up. Let's close that. Let's remove. All right, let's go and let's find my full PPR rankings as it stands. And I'll tell you exactly where I have them ranked in order. Full PPR running backs. Let's bring this. Ooh, that's not where I want it. Okay. So as it currently stands, we have Etienne 1. No, sorry. Wait, that's half PPR. Etienne 1, Henry 2, Pacheco 3, and Jacobs 4 in a full PPR. So Etienne would be the number 1 of the bunch as it stands. Thanks for the question, James. Appreciate it. Okay, so let's see. After James, I'm just going to scroll down. If I skip your question, again, it's not intentional. I'm just trying to keep up with the pack. I do appreciate you guys coming out. Again, if you guys haven't yet already, do me a favor, click the like button down below. It's greatly appreciated. Frosty, what's up, my man? Says, any tips on the 10th spot in a 10-team league in a 3 wide receiver PPR? In a 10-team league, 3 wide receiver spots, and I'm assuming once flex, I think you can start with double wide receivers and get away with it. Like, if I'm sitting at 10, under the assumption that McCaffrey, hold on, let me pause this chat before it goes anywhere too far. Under the assumption that McCaffrey, Lamb, Hill, Chase, Breece Hall, so that's 5. Wait, McCaffrey, Lamb, Hill, Breece, Chase, 5. Amon-Ra, Jefferson, Bijan, that's 8. 9 would be technically A.J. Brown. Let's say 10 is Garrett Wilson. 11 is Jonathan Taylor. Like, if you can start with Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor from the 10th pick, I'm more than happy with that overall start. I'm addressing both positions. You could go double wide receiver. I feel more confident getting that established elite running back that has top 5 potential. If Gibbs was 100% healthy and this hamstring thing didn't pop up, I would have said take Gibbs with, Garrett Wilson. But considering he's a little bit of a sketchier pick in comparison, I'd say for right now, Garrett Wilson, Jonathan Taylor. It's not bad there, Frosty. Where was Frosty's question, by the way? It's up there. Okay. Supreme Beam says, Andrew, I'm torn. I I got a second pick, and now I don't know who to pick between Hall or Robinson in a PPR. Between the two, I greatly prefer Hall. I am not upset at the idea of somebody picking Bijan Robinson over Hall. I have no issue with that, but I do believe that like you have to understand, guys, that last season Breece Hall was coming off of an ACL, which again, very, very, very rarely ever do we see running backs find immediate success statistically in fantasy coming off of an ACL. So he came off the ACL. He still finishes the number, 4 overall back. Not only that, he had Zach Wilson as his starting quarterback. The Jets were last in the league in total offensive touchdowns. The Jets also quite literally didn't have a rushing touchdown inside the 5-yard line from a running back last season. The volume of, just inconsistency from that offense, I mean, it was historically bad. So to the point to where what Aaron Rodgers is going to provide is going to make Breece Hall that much more of a threat. I mean, imagine they were playing games in negative game scripts. And yes, a lot of passing attempts went in the direction of Breece Hall. But even if he doesn't get those passing attempts to the vast majority of what he got last season, the touchdowns that will be attributing or will be attached to his overall, score lines are going to be the biggest difference makers there. I did see a comment here that I did want to address. Where did it go? I think it was, here we go. Right here. Right here. Mr. Robert P. Let's go and scroll up. Robert P says, my last 2-round kickers are Koo and Gay. Both missed 2 field goals yesterday. Ouch. Yeah, as of right now, I have Younghoe Koo ranked as my number 7 kicker, and I have Matt Gay as my number 10 kicker. So I'm anticipating them to be pretty decent as well. But yeah, inconsistency happens, man. You just, sometimes it doesn't, come off their foot the right way. It is what it is. Let's see here. DJ Couch Potato says, what do you think about Marvin Harrison Jr.? I love Marvin Harrison Jr. Look, here's the thing. There's been so much data that revolves around wide receivers over the course of the last decade selected within the first 10 picks of a draft. Like since 2014, I think there's been 11 wide receivers selected in the first round within the top 10 picks. Of those 11 wide receivers, the 7 of them were able to stay healthy their rookie season. I'm talking about the rest of the guys like missing somewhere between 6 to 7 games per season, or even 5 to 7 games within their rookie year. The healthy guys in the top, 10 of their drafts were averaging like 186 fantasy points per game, but we've seen even better performances. Like we've recently seen the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jeffersons of the world that were elite college athletes come in and make immediate impact. So it wouldn't surprise me that he could be the top 10 guy. That's why I have him ranked as like my number 8 or 9 wide receiver going into the season, because he's the number 1 target getter of his offense, which is obviously a huge difference maker in terms of the data metrics of success for rookie wide receivers within the first round. But additionally, he's got everything. He's got the build, tall, big wide receiver that's fast. He's got the pedigree with how great his father has been. And then he's going into an offense that desperately needs a number 1 wide receiver. Like it just makes sense. Jonathan Rife says, if Chase doesn't go week 1, should I play Marvin Harrison Jr. or Pittman, or Marvin Harrison Jr. and Deebo Samuel? Deebo Samuel plays against the Jets. Marvin Harrison, what's beautiful? I haven't even started preparing for week 1 because it's not even halfway through August yet. Let's look at week 1 schedule. They take on the Bills in Buffalo. Okay. And who do the Colts take on? They take on Houston at home. As of right now, let's think about this. Do I play Pittman or Deebo in week 1? I gotta think about this. You gotta making my life tough now. I'm gonna say for right now, I'd probably play Deebo, but with Marvin Harrison. But I don't know why Pittman's not your flex. That's the only thing I'd have to say. Problem with Butker is that he'll only get 5 PATs. That's the thing. So here's the rebuttal there to my chat just updated. Let me get to really quickly. There was a comment from Robert P who was saying something of the extent to where like Harrison Butker is only going to score 5 PATs per game. But the thing is, that's assuming they score 5 touchdowns per game as an offense. Like, are we thinking that the current Chiefs offense is what they were back in 2018? Like, are we going to get the 2018 repeat? Is that what's going on? Because if that's what's going to happen, then man, we should all be investing very quickly here. Sean sent in a super chat. Thank you again, Sean. Appreciate it. I don't know why my stream is just not like up to date, but Sean, there wasn't a message attached, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna search the live chat for your name, Sean Gadsden. Okay, Sean, I found your question. All right, so Sean's question before we get to Rockout. Thank you, Rockout. I appreciate it. 12-team keeper league. Who do I keep? I have Hall in the 2nd, Kyron in the 15th. Oh my God. Achane in the 10th, Laporta in the 10th, Olave in the 7th. I get to keep 2 keepers. Okay. Okay, Sean, I'd like a response here because it really does make a difference. What do your keeper rules consist of? If your keeper league requires you to keep them within the net, like let's say for example, if you keep Hall in the 2nd this year, is he required to be a first-round pick next season, or can you even keep him next season? Can you keep any of the keepers in the following year? That really does make a difference. Once I have an idea of that, if these are just one-time keepers or multi-year keepers, that makes a huge difference because, yeah. So let me know that, and then I'll be able to kind of broach the conversation with further analysis on it. Before we get there, let's go ahead and answer Rockout's question. Rockout says, my worst team quarterback is Jordan Love. Okay, that's not bad. JD5. I'm assuming that's Jaden Daniels is your backup quarterback, which again is those are 2 top 12 quarterbacks. So we're in a pretty good spot there. Running backs are Kyron Williams, great. Achane, great. Jacobs, great. Okay, so you got 3 top 12 running backs. So I'm assuming your wide receivers are going to lack. That's my immediate thought at the moment. But as I look, you have Hill, you have DK Metcalf, you have Kincaid. Okay, some auto accidentally SMH. If that's your worst team, I think you're in a pretty good spot, brother. Like it's sure there's a lot of running back depth here with Williams, Achane, Jacobs, Ford, Warren, and Mostert. Obviously the Achane. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. I accidentally went and go to channel. Obviously the Mostert Achane like kind of cuff per se is fine. Williams, Jacobs, Achane, Mostert. Maybe Ford and Warren were overkill. Maybe you just needed one of the 2. Probably, well, I don't know about Warren's injury. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But maybe a little overkill. Maybe we needed a little bit more depth here at wide receiver. But Worthy, Watson, I'm not even mad at this team. I'm honest, like completely honest. I'm not even mad at this team. DK is a solid wide receiver 2 in every scenario because he's been consistent and he will only continue to be consistent in that kind of scenario. I wanted to go ahead and see here really quickly. Sergio Cruz sends in a super chat. Let's go ahead and get to Sergio's question. It says in a 10-team full PPR league, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex, I have Jalen Hurts. I have, Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams, Evan Ingram, Olave. Thoughts? Wait, I'm sorry. You have Jalen Hurts, Hall, Kyron, Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams, Evan Ingram, Olave. Sergio, listen, if you don't already know that this is a monster team, then let me just give you an understanding as to what you have just collected. I mean, if we want to talk about, I wish I had the Infinity Gauntlet on standby. I'd pull that thing out. Top 2 quarterback, 2 top 7 running backs, 2 top 12 wide receivers, Olave, who's a top 15, 16 wide receiver, Ingram, who's a top 7 tight end. Like, what else do you want? I mean, what else do you want, brother? Like, you're good to go there. That's a stud of a roster that we'll probably see today. Okay, so let me get to Sean's question really quickly. Sean had asked that question. I want to see if Sean, geez, is the YouTube live chat just completely bricked? Okay, give me a second, guys. I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to just refresh really quickly because my live chat is just bricked. Why is that a thing, though? Why does it do that? Can I refresh it there? It is so, yeah, my live chat is just broken, which is not very helpful. Maybe if I just go and just watch my own stream, it'll be more. No, it's not. Wow. Do you guys see what I'm seeing in the chat? Or is it just me? That is so weird. It is lagging. Okay, well, we're going to try to figure it out. Either way, Sean Gadsden. Okay, so your response was you can keep them next year for one round earlier. Got it. So with that context available, goodness gracious. I'm thinking the play, Sean, is one of two options. I think Laporta's a keep, and I think I want to do like the Laporta Kyron as one option, and then the other option is you go Hall and Laporta. Yeah, that's the only combo that those are the two combos that I would go with. If you think you'd rather just guarantee that you're getting Breece Hall this season, yes, you're probably not going to be able to keep him next season. That's the only thing. Like, you can get him for 2 years, and that's great. But I think I'd like to keep the Kyron Williams-Laporta combo there. Okay. Moving on. We had a super chat sent in from Speak Your Piece, who says the following. Let me just make sure I didn't skip anybody else. Okay. Speak Your Piece says, should I trade Jamar Chase for A.J. Brown due to the contract situation? Kind of nervous. Will he be back for week 1? I need your opinion. Okay, so here's the thing. What do we know objectively? We know that the Cincinnati Bengals organization as a whole never wants to reward a player with a contract during training camp, okay? They have done this forever. For as long as we can remember, that is how the owner and the manager, general manager, whoever it has been, specifically the owner, it's top down, but the owners never wanted to give players contracts during the training camp. And we even heard this offseason them come out and say, we're not giving Jamar Chase a contract. We don't do that here. So with that taken into account, we're probably going to get a stalemate because we went from Jamar Chase holding in to now holding out. So he's going to get his daily fines. And at this point, based on the player he is, the fact that he has, I think this year is his 4th year. Then he has the 5th year option, and then they have an opportunity to franchise tag him twice. He technically could still have 4 years on his contract where he cannot move. So with that in mind, he's at the mercy of the Cincinnati Bengals. And if we're going to have a holdout, I'm not nervous to a point right now to where on the 18th of August, I'm like, let's get rid of him. But as we get closer, the idea of trading him for A.J. Brown becomes more of an enticing potential out. But again, you may not have those opportunities as we get closer to the start of the season because maybe others will get more nervous as well with Jamar Chase and be less likely to trade with you. But for now, I'd hold. But that's what we know objectively. The Cincinnati Bengals don't give away contracts. And we have a player here at the top tier that wants probably 35 a year, and they're not going to give it to him right now. Sergio, we took care of that question. Again, thank you very much. Speak Your Piece had another super chat question that sent in. It says, would you rather have James Cook or Kamara? I'd rather have James. Ooh, you know what? Depends. In a full PPR, I'd rather have Kamara. In a half PPR, I'm beginning to lean towards James Cook only because Kamara popped up with a back injury the other day and it scared the living Jeebus out of me, primarily because, again, he's an older back. So full PPR Kamara, half PPR probably James Cook going forward. Okay, let's see here. Dolphins fan sent in a super chat, said I have Jalen Hurts, Jamar Chase, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Laporta, Ramondre, and Najee Harris. You went heavy on wide receiver. So what did you win? Chase, Adams, Laporta in the 3rd, Jalen Hurts in the 4th, Cooper. I don't know if that's Amari or if that's Cooper Kupp. I'm assuming that's Amari. And then you went Ramondre, Najee. I'm not even upset at it. In a 12-team league, if you're starting 3 wide receivers every week, starting this way is not a problem. You're just, again, you're going to be at the mercy of your running backs. And I think Ramondre and Najee Harris are probably like their lower end RB2s that are going to be very much so dependent on touchdowns on a weekly basis, especially Najee, especially considering he doesn't get himself enough receiving utilization in comparison to Ramondre. But the rest of your team's going to have to carry the team on their back. The Chase, Adams, Cooper, Hurts, and Laporta have to carry every week. Let's hear Kendall. Sent in a super chat, says, top 8 to 10 last round picks in final 4 rounds, PPR. I don't need, okay, hold on, wait. Top 8 to 10 late round picks in the final 4 rounds. Goodness gracious. Here's the thing. I can just start naming players, but it purely depends on what kind of a league are you playing in. Are you playing in a 12-team league, an 8-team league, a 10-team league? Because that'll make the last 4 rounds technically way different. Way different. So, and it also depends on where you're drafting. Like if you're drafting on Underdog, it's going to be a lot sharper than if you're drafting on Yahoo. But in terms of like late round players that I want, okay, let's see here. Late round players that I want. Let me pull up my rankings and let me see if I can. Let's close this. Okay, so again, I've said it for the last couple days. I really like Darnell Mooney. Besides Darnell Mooney, I really like Josh Palmer. I think he's being far too slept on. Rashid Shaheed, again, another one of those wide receivers that I like. Outside of those guys, if I'm like really dipping in, Adonai Mitchell, I don't even know if he goes in the final 4 rounds. Depends on how many bench spots there are in this league. Those are kind of the names that I throw out that I think to myself probably would like to have. All right, let's see here. Okay, so the chat is beginning to work again, which is beautiful. So now I can throw it up on screen. Beautiful. Okay, so let's scroll back up here. Let's answer some questions. Let's see. This RT, how do I get? Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. All right, so let's start here. A little bit higher on this chat, and we're here. Okay. Here we go. With the NFL kickoff changes, should I factor in possible productive wide receivers that may return kickoffs? Example, Dell or Tyreek returning kicks. Here's the thing, RCT. We don't know objectively how often they're going to be utilized within those overall scenarios. Additionally, the opportunities of kickoff returns in comparison to red zone targets, they're so different that, quite honestly, I wouldn't be able to, like, maybe I could say, okay, out of 17 weeks, let's say Tank Dell returns 1 kickoff. Let's say he returns 2 kickoffs, okay? 100, what is that, 12 points? I mean, really, in the grand scheme, that can make a huge difference, but on a per game average, it's less than a point. And that's 2 kickoffs, which again, for anybody is great if you get 2 kickoff returns in a season. So I wouldn't put much of a value to it unless you're getting points per the yardage. Rams House 99 says, I'm in a dynasty startup right now. Superflex start 11. Start 11. Full PPR, 1.75 for tight ends. My team is Caleb, Kyler, Odunze, McBride, Jacobs, Higgins, McConkey. Okay, Hawkinson. Should I take Zamir White or Evan Ingram? You want a third tight end? I don't even mind. You have Jacob. Okay, so here's the thing. You don't have much running back depth, but I'm okay even. Do I want to take Zamir? I don't know if I want to take Zamir there. I think I might just take Evan Ingram. Charlene says, what are you doing next Sunday? I need you for my draft. Just kidding. I mean, listen, if I need to be subbed in to make some picks, I have no problem doing so. Who are your deep sleepers that I can get from waivers? I don't know. Dude, it is... Okay, here's the thing. So for my main leagues, guys, I haven't even drafted yet. So I don't even know who is left on waivers in majority of leagues. Okay, so when you ask those questions, I don't even know. The fact that you guys have drafted this early still scares me. Still scares me. Because you never know. The volume of times I've seen players get injured and have season-ending injuries prior to a season, you know, I am famously one of the people who had a lot of Andrew Luck the year that he decided to retire. Definitely brutal. Never making that mistake again. 6 point per passing touchdown, 10-team league. Should I take a quarterback in the 3rd round? I know no one in my none of my league mates would take a quarterback that early. Yeah, you should. I would. I absolutely would. Moby Michael says 12-team PPR got Lamb, Puka, was that Rashad White, Lamar, Harris, Schultz, Ayuk, Chiefs defense, and Tyler Bass. Benches Mostert, Watson, Chase Brown, and Samuel with Bo Nix. So you have Lamb as your number 1, Puka as your number 2, Rashad White in the 3rd, Lamar in the 4th, Harris. I don't love the Schultz pick. That's, I think, the only thing that bothers me about this team is just the Dalton Schultz pick. And the fact that you don't have another tight end on roster. I don't know if Dalton Schultz is going to be good enough to be a weekly start. If you want 6 points per week, I think that's what you'll probably get in this scenario. Maybe 6 to 7 if we're lucky. Massimo says in an 8-team league, did I mess up taking Devontae Adams at the 3.01? Or should I have taken Puka? You should have taken Puka. But hey, Gardner Minshew being the starting quarterback or announced earlier today as a starting quarterback of the Raiders this upcoming season, I think is very much so a benefit to the potential of Devontae Adams, primarily because, again, when you have Gardner Minshew at quarterback, especially from what we saw out of Michael Pittman Jr. last season, in 9 of the 13 games in which Gardner Minshew was a starting quarterback, Michael Pittman Jr. saw double-digit targets. So for the case of Devontae Adams, he's going to be of value or be a little bit more dependable, primarily because of the quarterback upgrade going from Aiden O'Connell to Gardner Minshew, which again is a bonus. But yeah, I would have taken Puka there. I don't even know how Puka is still available in your league at 3.01. Okay, yeah, this is way later down on the line. Okay, yeah, look at this chat. What is this? What is going on, YouTube? Lock it in. Watch Hangout says, 12-team PPR auction. What are you spending on? Again, I haven't played in an auction league since 2013/2014. I couldn't even begin to tell you what to spend your money on. I don't have a breakdown. I know a lot of people ask me, hey, Andrew, what's your breakdown in terms of of $200 of potential spending? How much are you allocating to the running back position in comparison to tight end? And if at tight end, how much are you spending for the top, potential peak of the position in comparison to some of the later on? I don't have that breakdown. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to make up the idea that I know the answer to that. Don't play in that league. Don't have experience in it. You probably have more experience than myself because I haven't drafted in such a format in over 10 years. So I don't pay attention to it. I'm just primarily a redraft guy. Okay, we had a couple. Okay, finally the chat's beginning to load slowly but surely. Nel Santiago, what's up, my man? It says Adams or London. Even with the Gardner Minshew, I'd still take Drake London there. Listen, here's the thing, guys. I am a believer not only in the talent that Drake London has, but additionally the value of USC wide receivers. USC wide receivers in the National Football League have especially as of the last, I want to say, how long has it been? The last maybe 7-8 years, maybe 10 years. I don't even know. There's been a lot of success. And unfortunately, Drake London hasn't been in that top tier conversation. Jordan Addison, Amon-Ra St. Brown recently, some monsters. Just wait till London shows everybody what's up this year. Just wait. Now he actually has a quarterback. Obviously, if you're afraid of the London scenario because you're like, oh, I'm not sure if Kirk Cousins can stay healthy, Adams is always solid. I mean, the guy had 100 receptions last year, and he had Jimmy G and Aiden O'Connell throwing him the ball. So if you just want consistency because you just you want the ease of the pick and not having to worry, then fine, that's fine. But ultimately, for right now, I would take London. I think he has more upside. Bro, Andrew Luck retirement happened a round after I drafted him. Yeah, that's brutal. Matt says, I have a draft at 8 p.m. Eastern time tonight. Could you help me? How much would I owe you? Matt, listen, you don't need my... Listen, okay, here's the thing. Listen, the number one way that I can help you, honestly, is just rankings. That's it. So if you want the rankings, Patreon, you can sign up there, get the rankings. Good to go. It has positional rankings in terms of quarterback, running back, wide receiver, kicker, defense, tight end, all of it. A quarterback also is 4-point and 6-point per passing touchdown league. The rest of the rankings are half PPR, full PPR. It includes flex rankings. Those flex rankings have running back, wide receiver, quarterback, and tight end so that you know when to draft all four of the primary positions. And then it also has a cheat sheet with it. So when you're drafting, you can also delete the players that have already been taken, all that kind of jazz. So you can check out Patreon. You can get that, or you can sign up via Underdog Fantasy. If you do so before, what is your draft at? 8 p.m. EST? Yeah, that's Patreon's probably your best bet in terms of getting the most updated rankings. That would probably be it, because you'd probably want it before any of the updated stuff is sent out, which is probably after 6 p.m. PST today. Let's see here. Jose Diaz says, who should I draft at the number one spot? I'd take Christian McCaffrey. That's what I would do. If you're worried about it, obviously, there are alternative options to where you can pivot and still find a lot of success. Okay, let's see here. Is my YouTube chat going to work? Maybe. Wow, it is like YouTube just got, cooked. You know what I actually want to do? I'm sort of willing. Yeah, that's way better. When I just look at, oh man, my dashboard is fried. Okay. So we had a super chat sent in from the Logic 804 who says, any rookie running backs worth drafting? I think Blake Corum's ADP is a little too high for my blood, at least. I think Jonathan Brooks is okay, but I would like to have him as my like RB5. But at his ADP, I don't think you can afford to have him as your RB5. I guess you can have him as your RB4, assuming you start a wide receiver in the flex. I don't like Trey Benson too much. I think I think James Conner's going to be the guy for quite a while. I think this season will continue to be the year of James Conner. As for after that, is there any other, like Jalen Wright is not a bad player to invest in from the Miami Dolphins. Mainly because if in fact we're in a scenario where Mostert and or Achane go down with an injury, chances are Jalen Wright's the next man up and he jumps over Jeff Wilson Jr. And we know how much value this backfield kind of creates with the opportunities that they give their players. Let's see here. Should I take Reek over Lamb because of the contract situation? You can. I don't have a problem with that. A couple weeks ago, I was on that train. I think that they're going to eventually find a deal with Lamb. But if you want to just be safe with it, I don't think that there's not enough of a difference between Reek and Lamb to be like I have to have Lamb. No, absolutely not. Take Tyreek. It's safe. You know that he's going to produce identical, if not more, fantasy points per game based on Tyreek's consistency in comparison to Lamb over the years. And if Lamb misses time, it's even more of a reason that you wanted to have, Reek on your team. Let's see here. Is it solid to take Devontae Adams over Etienne and Derrick Henry as the 18th pick in a half PPR league if my first round pick was Saquon? Yeah, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. I think in a 14-team league, the running back position is going to disappear relatively quickly, especially because of that half PPR format. So as long as you're able to jump back into the running back position within the third or fourth round and still at very least, like worst case scenario, you get Kenneth Walker in that fourth. But best case scenario, maybe in that third round can still get Pacheco. I think you'll be fine. I don't have a problem with that. Let's see here. Loaded question. When do I pick up DST? I like top 3 and kickers as my last pick. If you want a top 3 defense, well, it depends on what you expect to be a top 3 defense. Like I see the Jets, I see the Ravens, I see the Browns probably being like top 3 defenses this year for fantasy off the top of my head. As for the potential when you need to draft them, probably at like the ADP on defenses on ESPN is like 85.2 for the Cleveland Browns. I'm not spending that draft capital. So at very least, like if they start moving off the board in the 10th round, I'm cool there. Outside of that, I don't really want to do that either. I'd rather just wait and take Kansas City's defense, within the final couple rounds there. Can I get a link to the Patreon? It's in the description of the video. Just check it out right now. Thank you. So again, for those of you guys who are interested in the Patreon, the base minimum tier is the 2024 Fantasy Champion. Anything else from that will not grant you any of the primary kind of, I guess, content per se. So that is the base, just so we're all on the same page for those of you guys who are interested in that. Breece Hall, my number 1. Again, I wouldn't be surprised. Thank you, Mohammed. Thank you. Alrighty, let's see here. We took care of Logic's question. Let's scroll down here. Where are we at? We had Darnell Mooney or Brian Thomas Jr. I'd rather take Brian Thomas Jr. I think you asked this question to me in the comment section. I'm pretty sure you did, and I answered you. But yeah, Brian Thomas Jr. for sure. There's a lot of data about rookie wide receivers who were selected in the first round finding a lot of success, especially in the last 5 years. Additionally, Brian Thomas should be the Calvin Ridley of this offense. He should play on the outside, and he should be heavily utilized in those scenarios. Okay, keeping it moving. Let's see here. Again, how many people are here? That's what I'm curious about. 327. Welcome. Hope you guys are doing well on this wonderful Sunday. Again, we're just answering questions at this current moment in time, seeing what you guys have in terms of questions. What's up, LJ? How's it going? Mr. Terrible says running backs are so plentiful rounds 5 through 10. Go wide receivers early. It depends on what kind of league you play in. Again, here's the thing. Running back is plentiful if you're playing in a league where people are explicitly trying to take wide receivers early. If you're playing in a league where you can only, start with, 2 wide receivers in your starting lineup, people are not going to select 4 wide receivers to begin. There's literally no point in doing so. So it really depends on what your specific league entails. That's it. King Reed in the chat says, any ownership projections yet from DFS on how it affects plays? I don't even know what that means. I don't look into DFS. I don't play DFS. So couldn't even tell you. All right, Mohammed sent in a super chat. Thank you, Mohammed. It says, who has a good starting schedule for wide receiver / running back? I know New England. Okay, let me check. 1 second. Let me pull up my strength of schedule videos, or not videos, but my strength of schedule Excel sheets for both running back and wide receiver, and we can go over them. So where's my running back? Okay. So as it currently stands, from weeks 1 through 7 for running back, the best strength of schedule belongs to the Commanders, the Chargers, the Giants, Browns, Packers, Lions, Raiders, Bears. When I look at some of these schedules in specific, the fact that, let's see here. So first and foremost, this is a reason why I've suggested Jerome Ford in the past, especially if, in fact, we're trending in that direction. Nick Chubb's going to miss himself at least the first 4 weeks of the season. And then additionally after, we'll probably take a couple weeks to ramp up. To begin the season, the Cleveland Browns start with Dallas, which again, we saw it last season. They couldn't stop the run, and I don't think they're going to be able to do this season. They haven't really made any changes defensively to make me change my mind in that kind of capacity. Then you have Jacksonville, the Giants, the Raiders, the Commanders, the Eagles, and then the Bengals. As good of a schedule as you could probably ask for early on in the season to kind of start fire for a guy like Jerome Ford. But outside of that, in terms of wide receiver, weeks 1 through 7, the best schedule belongs to Cleveland. Again, has a really good schedule. What do they have here? Yeah, Cleveland, Green Bay, the LA Rams, the Cardinals, the Giants, the Colts. They have the best schedules in the first 7 games or 7 weeks specifically for wide receiver strength of schedule. Let's see here. Crypt Keeper sent in a super chat, says, I won't ask. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you. That's a classic. Can you drop the link to Patreon? Yeah, I'll just drop it. Give me a second here. So if we go to the description and we just copy that, I'll just go ahead and put it in here. And I'll just pin it. There you go. Nathan Salazar sent in a super chat, said, next best player draft, or do you have a formula to go by? Like wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, and then running back in the later rounds, or running back, wide receiver, or so on and so forth. So technically, in my mind, I do have a formula in which I go by. So here's the thing. You want to be building a team. right? You don't want to build best player every single time because you may be stuck in a scenario where you're like, well, technically the best player is another running back here, but I already have 3. And I've already started with 3 of my first 5 picks being running back. Like, I don't need to go anymore. So again, you have to understand that you're building a team and you need balance across the board. So if you are to start running backs in the first 2 rounds, based on what you're given, you cannot re-dip back into that position for a while. Like, you have to address the wide receiver position. So typically, there are different ways in which you can navigate your draft. Again, we talk about it, whether it's like a hero or double hero or like a 0 RB strategy. If you're going to take an RB in the first, let's say, for example, I'm taking Breece Hall in the first, and there's nothing in that second round that entices me at wide receiver, and there's still a lot of depth at running back, like a Kyron Williams still in the second round, like I don't have a problem going back into running back there. I just have to immediately, once I've done that, address wide receiver because I know that the position is going to immediately start to vanish in front of me. So in that third round, even though I started like Breece Hall, Kyron Williams, I got to look for a guy like Jalen Waddle or Cooper Kupp in that third that could potentially kind of save me. Maybe Mike Evans. I see Mike Evans drop to the third a lot. So it just depends on, of course, if you're playing like a 10 or 12 team league, but understand that you're building a team. So you need to have balance to an extent. So if you go double RBs to begin, you got to go elsewhere. If you start double wide receivers, unless you're playing in a 3 starting wide receiver league, I'd more often than not suggest you need to take a running back in that third to at very least offset the fact that you've heavily committed to wide receivers early. Aaron sent in a super chat, said strategy / tips to a 14-man league in the 12th pick overall. So this is the number one thing that I try to at least kind of show you guys when I draft, whether it's been in prior seasons or some of the mock drafts we've done via live streams over the course of the last couple weeks. When I'm drafting at the end of a round, specifically in your scenario, you're the 12th pick in a 14-team league. I want to dictate to the best of my ability what the teams after me at pick 13, 14, and then at the beginning of the next round, 1 and 2, are going to do. So if I see, let's say I'm the 12th pick, I'm going to go ahead and address, let's say I take Jonathan Taylor with my first round pick, let's say I take Jonathan Taylor, for example. When the draft comes back to me, depending on what they select, by the time I get to the 3rd and 4th round, depending on if they've started balanced RB wide receiver, or they went double wide receiver, or both of them went 2 running backs, it'll give you an idea as to what you can anticipate. So when the 3rd round comes back in your direction, Aaron, if the teams to the right of you have gone double RB or double wide receiver, and okay, well, look, they haven't addressed the running back position yet, or they haven't addressed wide receiver yet, I need to ensure that I grab a wide receiver now, because by the time it comes back to me in the 4th round, the wide receivers that are going to be left because they need to address it are going to be far less. So you have to understand, like, when the draft is on that corner, you have to almost predict what they're going to select and make informed decisions based on that to at least have a little bit of an edge and be able to still get the players you want. Instead of selecting, like, if I know that they're going to take running back on the corner and I still want a running back in the 4th, I'm just going to take them in the 3rd and just be okay with whatever wide receiver comes back in the 4th, Hopefully that makes sense. Someone just asked, Devon Achane in the early 2nd. I don't have a problem with it. Again, listen. When drafting, so let's just put this into perspective. I think that right now, everybody is undefeated. And that's an objective truth. We are all undefeated in fantasy football. Can you make mistakes in your draft? Yes. You could take 3 quarterbacks in the first 3 rounds and you're playing in a league where you can only start 1 quarterback. That's an objective mistake. But I think taking players above ADP isn't technically a mistake until we get to week 18 of next season, or at the end of the season, when we're already in January 2025. That'll be the determining factor as to whether or not it actually was a mistake. That's really what it is. So if we get into a scenario in which you're thinking, hey, I'd like to take Achane here, but the vast majority of the population says don't do it, who cares? Take him. If he ends up beating ADP, fantastic. Even if he doesn't outproduce ADP, you took him in the early 2nd, and you knew for a fact that if you didn't take him there, by the time your 3rd round selection comes around, you wouldn't have an opportunity of even drafting him. So quite frankly, you're just taking, in your mind, the best available player at that position that would be gone regardless of the fact. Whether it's your pick or 6 picks after, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make any sense not to go for the player that you want in that scenario. Manuel in the chat says, would you take Tua if you selected Tyreek Hill, or go with rushing upside and select Jaden Daniels? If you're playing in a 4-point per passing touchdown league, I would suggest you go with Jaden Daniels purely off of that rushing upside. If you're playing in a 6-point per passing touchdown league, I have no problem, stacking him with Tua Tagovailoa. We had a super chat sent in from Bilal Ascari, who says, hey, Andrew, if you could only keep one, okay, who would you keep? 6th round pick. What is this? Number 1, Amon-Ra St. Brown, okay. 2nd, number 2, Jonathan Taylor in the, okay. Or number 3, Laporta in the 13th. Okay, so, oh man, okay. Bilal, I would probably just keep Amon-Ra St. Brown. Wait, hold up. You have to keep Amon-Ra. Okay, wait. I'm confused here. Oh, okay. Never mind. Scratch that. Now I understand what your question is. You're the 6th pick in your first round. You can either keep Amon-Ra in the 2nd, Jonathan Taylor in the 7th, or Laporta in the 13th. I'm keeping Jonathan Taylor there. That's fine. I'd keep Jonathan Taylor. I don't want to waste a 2nd round keeper on Amon-Ra. I don't think it's a waste, but again, if you're going to then have to keep him the following year as a 1st round pick, it doesn't make sense in terms of the overall investment of your future to keep him rather than someone like Jonathan Taylor. I'd rather just keep Jonathan Taylor and keep him as a 7th this year, 6th, 5th, 4th. I mean, for the next 4 years until his career literally ends and his legs run out of juice, you will have the peak Jonathan Taylor. And quite frankly, you'll be able to benefit from it as a very late keeper in comparison. So yeah, I'd probably just keep Jonathan Taylor. There can be an argument for Laporta in the 13th, primarily because he could very easily be the number 1 tight end for the next 10 seasons plus in fantasy football. But I'd still rather have the next 4 or 5 seasons of a top 5 running back because the value there in comparison is far greater. Andrew, why are you so high on London? He doesn't have history of being great in fantasy. That doesn't matter. Listen, here's the thing. You have to understand that situations are situational, and especially in fantasy football, Drake London has been at the mercy of Laporta. Sorry, not Laporta. I was thinking of Laporta. He's been at the mercy of Mariota, Heineke, and Ritter. And by all means, on all metrics, these are not great quarterbacks. It doesn't matter what argument you want to put forward. They are not great quarterbacks. Additionally, he was in an offense that didn't feature the wide receiver position. In fact, last season, the Atlanta Falcons targeted their wide receivers the least amount of times amongst all teams in the National Football League. So with a lack of potential quality opportunity, again, when you have 30 to 35, 40% of your targets inaccurate or off target, in general, deemed uncatchable, what is he supposed to do? Yeah, you get 110 targets, but if 35% of them are inaccurate and he's not going to make the play, then quite frankly, you're really only getting a quality of good 80 targets. Yes, you make 58 receptions on him. We'll take those. That's fine. But once you now increase that number of accuracy and the volume of opportunity that he's going to have within this offense with Kirk Cousins, I mean, geez, Kirk Cousins has made lesser wide receivers like an Adam Thielen look far better. So again, the build, the offense, the structure at which they're going to approach this upcoming season, London has a lot of value. I'm not saying, he's going to be going out there and putting up 1,800 receiving yards, but I think there's a very good chance that we're going to get a 1,200-yard receiver somewhere in the 75 to 80, catch range, and then hopefully have himself 7 to 8, maybe more touchdowns. Like his number lines should be very reminiscent of what Mike Evans' number lines are over the course of the last couple seasons here. Now, obviously, I'm looking at the upside of it, not the potential downside. Because 2022, my goodness, was that a downside year for Mike Evans. Mike Evans, funny enough, in 2022, he was a bum for fantasy purposes for like the last 8 weeks up until week 17 championship game where all of us were like, all right, we can't start him anymore. It's just, and then he goes for like 40 points. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. All right, moving on. Atlanta has a whole new system this year, so I'm confused by that analysis. What are you talking about? Of course they have a whole new system. That's the point. That's literally the point. They have an offense that actually utilizes the wide receiver position at a high rate. That's the whole point of the analysis. Targets equals success. Opportunity equals success. That's fantasy football. At its base core, the more points that you score is based on the more opportunity you get. That's it. So is he going to get more opportunity? Yes. Is he going to be more accurate opportunity? Yes. Is he have a better offensive coordinator, play caller? Yes. Does he have a better quarterback? Yes. Everything in terms of the positive metrics are all, we're ticking off all of the boxes. Everything is going in the right direction. Now, if you told me like Drake London's bad at football, he can't find separation or he's not able to, make contested catches, that's a completely different conversation. When we're talking about opportunity as a whole and predicting potential for success, it's all there. It's all within the line of sight. Will Patel sent in a super chat. Thank you, Will. Appreciate it. Will says, hey, Andrew, first year doing a keeper league. Any draft advice for a keeper? Okay. I have the third pick and get 3 players to keep. First round pick, question mark, full PPR. I would, if I'm you, I'm taking Breece Hall third. Yeah. I'm taking Breece Hall third. And I'd probably just keep him in the next year. Charlene says, hey, Andrew, do you ever get sniped? I've been playing fantasy for 21 years, and I get sniped a couple occasions in fantasy. I think getting sniped is very common for me, mainly because everybody that I play with knows the players that I want because I literally make YouTube videos regarding them. And the vast majority of my leagues are literally looking at my rankings when they draft. And I still lose these leagues, by the way, because, I'm literally playing against my clones because they are literally taking the players that I'm telling them to take. But yeah, I've been sniped many of times. But that's the thing, like getting sniped isn't a big deal as long as you're cool-headed about it. Like you have to understand before every selection, you should have 2 or 3 names that you're ready to select. You should never be like taken blindsided by a pick or a selection that makes you completely crumble and then like, oh man, I don't know who to pick. And then you just pick a random player. Like you should always have at least 2 names ready to go before your selection. Joshua sent in a super chat. Thank you, Joshua. Says in a 1 point per reception super flex keeper league, I can keep Gibbs in the 5th, Kyron in the 8th, Kyler in the 15th, Goff in the 8th, McBride in the 8th, keep 2. I can't keep more than 1 in the same position. Okay, no problem. We're keeping... Ooh. Okay, yeah, that's fine. Keep Gibbs in the 5th, and let's keep McBride in the 8th, Joshua Montgomery. That's my suggestion there. Thank you very much. Very generous of you as well. Again, Joshua, you could have taken that $20 right there. Boom, Patreon 1 month subscription, good to go. Again, guys, a lot of opportunities, but hey, either way, maybe you're part of the Patreon. I'm not even recognizing the name, but either way, yeah, Gibbs in the 5th, McBride in the 8th. Those are the 2 keepers, primarily because you can't keep 2 running backs, or you can't keep 2 players within the same position. Oh, you know what? It's a super flex league. Oh, goodness gracious. No, it's not McBride. It's actually Gibbs and it's Kyler. Oh, wow. Maybe you... yeah, no, it's Gibbs and Kyler. Sorry. Scratch that. Keep Kyler in the 15th. Keep Gibbs in the 5th. Apologies. I didn't even realize that we were talking about a super flex. Completely just dodged my brain there. Thank you very much anyway. Kyler, Gibbs. That's the combo. Thank you. Colin Smith says, pick 6. Half PPR. Can you rank Chase, Bijan, and Hall? Chase, Bijan, and Hall. Yeah. So as of right now, in a half PPR, Hall is the highest ranked player on my list. As we get closer to the draft and Chase does not have a contract, Bijan is going to jump him. Like right now, I do have Chase ahead of Bijan. That's under the assumption that Chase, of course, signs a deal. If he doesn't, I'd much rather just go Hall, Bijan, than Chase in that order. I don't know. I didn't know if you touched on defenses yet, but what defenses are you shooting for? Okay, so let's go over this really quickly. So in terms of defenses, the ones that okay. Here's the thing. I don't like to reach on defenses, especially in leagues where I can still get immense value at later selections at wide receiver, tight end, and running back. That being said, typically what I like to do is wait on defense. And if I can, I'm trying to get the Kansas City Chiefs, mainly because they've been a top 12 defense for 10 consecutive years in fantasy football. So if I can get the Kansas City Chiefs, they've ranked about on average like the number 9 team or number 9 defense. And they're averaging about 130 fantasy points per season. So again, not incredible numbers, but if I want consistency at the position, that's where it is. And the fact that this year they take on Gardner Minshew twice, Bo Nix twice, and they take on Justin Herbert twice, but again, it's an unknown commodity of what we're anticipating to see from that offense as to how it breaks down. So they should be in a pretty good spot. So that's the defense that I love the most. If you're looking for even deeper potential selections, like I'm even willing to wait and grab Chicago, Pittsburgh, or Las Vegas as a defense. And that's like really waiting. Like truly. Okay, let's see here. Where are we at? Craig Wilkie says, drafting at pick 3, half PPR scoring format. How do I approach the first 3 rounds? How do you approach the first 3 rounds? It depends on what you take with the first overall selection. Let's say under the assumption that you okay. You can go about it many of ways, but let's say, for example, at the 1.03, you take a wide receiver, regardless of who it is, Tyreek Hill or Lamb, it doesn't matter. Let's say you take a wide receiver. In that second round, going into the third, it's really a determination of what do you anticipate to see the first and the second pick, the guys that are going to pick after you in round 2, in the beginning of round 3, what you anticipate them to potentially draft. One of them will have a wide receiver, the other one will have McCaffrey. So you should anticipate, at very least, I'd say on average, you're going to see one wide receiver, 1 running back come off the board. We'll probably see a little bit more balance. So let's say 3 wide receivers and 1 running back come off the board. So when it comes back in round 2, even though you've selected a wide receiver, I'm almost confident taking another wide receiver in round 2, then waiting on that running back and grabbing a back in round 3, maybe a Pacheco or ETN if he drops to me in that kind of scenario. I like that personally. That's kind of how I would look at it. Now, if you started with running back with Breece Hall in the first, I'd be far more inclined to potentially, I'd feel far more confident in the idea of just doubling up on wide receiver after that, because I know that I have the hero RB that's kind of going to carry me, and then I can go back and dip back in the running back potentially in round 5 or 6, which there's a lot of depth. Like I could have David Montgomery as my RB2, and I'd be perfectly happy with it for the remainder of the season. All right, let's see here. Okay, so there's a lot of questions here. So I'm going to pop this back up. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. That's absolutely not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do this. Boom. Boom. There. That doesn't work. Yo, that's why. I was about to say, I was like, what is going on? Okay. So before we get, actually, let's just get to these really quickly. Top performers. Thank you very much for the super chat. Very grateful. Says, what would be your first 3, second pick, 10-team league, 2 quarterback super flex? Okay, very well. Rushing touchdowns worth 6 versus, okay, so that's just a normal league, no problem. Thinking of going 2 pass catchers first? Listen, if I'm the second team, okay, if I'm the second pick in a 10-team super flex league, I'm taking a quarterback. That's what I would do. Again, we play in different leagues. You know your league better than I do. If you know that everyone's going to remain steady and not take a quarterback until like round 3, then just wait. Take a pass catcher at your second overall pick, take a quarterback in round 2 or in round 3, and diversify accordingly. But if you were playing in a league with me and I was the second pick, I'm taking Josh Allen there. If someone goes 1.01 McCaffrey, I'll take Josh Allen at the number 2 spot. I would. Because in a super flex, I would love to have 2 stud quarterbacks. It does not matter. I do not want to be rostering and starting Deshaun Watson every week for 16 weeks. It will literally sink my season. I think it will. Let's see here. Friola 33 says, is it crazy to say that I want Burrow over every quarterback except Allen? Mahomes, Lamar, and Hurts are disappointing last year, and I don't trust Richardson or Murray. I don't have an issue with that. Again, amongst all of the, I'd say amongst everyone that you potentially think besides yourself, Frahola, in terms of loving Burrow. I'm in the number one fan club of Joe Burrow. When it comes to fantasy, he has been more consistent than Lamar Jackson on a fantasy point per game average over the course of the last 3 seasons. Like, in terms of fantasy point per game production, if I'm not mistaken, let me see here. Where is he on my consistency calculator? Let me go find it. Where art thou? Let's go here. Let's find this, shall we? In terms of my consistency calculator, the one and only Joe Burrow he's number 6. Now, he's only number 6 because Anthony Richardson sits at 4. If you eliminate Richardson because he's only played 2 career games, he's number 5, only behind Allen, Hurts, Mahomes, Murray, in terms of my consistency calculator of production since 2021. So again, I have no problem with that idea. And quite frankly, that just means that you can address running back, wide receiver, tight end early because you know you can get Burrow later. All right, bringing the chat back up here. Let's scroll down here. Reno sent in a super chat. Thank you, Reno. Appreciate it. Says, hey, man, I have the second pick in a full PPR 10-team league. I'm taking CeeDee Lamb. Would Achane be a reach in the second? No, he's not. Listen, here's the thing. The team next to you, okay, if you're the second pick and you're taking CeeDee Lamb, the guy that takes Christian McCaffrey 1.01, there's nothing that says that he doesn't take Achane. So what's going to happen if you don't take Achane? He takes him and it hurts you. He doesn't take him and he ends up in your lap in the 3rd round. Beautiful. Or you just secure Achane in that 2nd round, and whatever wide receiver comes back to you and or running back you want to invest in the 3rd round is there and available. And if you can live with those players as return options in the 3rd, so be it. Like, I have no problem taking them in the 2nd at all. I mean, somebody asked if I was willing to take them in the early 2nd. I don't have an issue with that. Again, you have to understand that if the player is going to be gone by the time you select next, you might as well just take him now if that's what you want. Telugu says, Pacheco is a league winner. Pacheco league winner. Is he going to be the best situation in Kansas City as the RB1 since he became relevant? You can get him in the 3rd round. Yeah. I mean, look, I have no problem with that at all. I was not highlighting it correctly on screen. I don't want my league mates, hopefully they're not watching, I don't want my league mates to know that I'm probably going to have Isaiah Pacheco be my RB1 this upcoming season. Like, when I talk about my league mates, I'm talking about like my main league. In the other leagues that I play in, they're not always super flex, but in my main league, like, I'm going to start quarterback in the 1st. I'm going to take a wide receiver in the 2nd. I'm going to grab Pacheco in the 3rd, and then I'm going to go back for quarterback in the 4th. That's literally what I'm going to do. And Pacheco's going to either win me the league or he's going to lose me the league, and we'll see what happens. But I'm all in on it. I have no problem with that at all. Like, the guy should have himself somewhere between 55 to 65 receptions. Forget targets, receptions this season. That's how confident I am with that. Let's see here. Jay Money, what's up, man? Says drafting 3rd in a 10-team league, 2 quarterbacks, 4 point per passing touchdown. Would you go quarterback or Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson wide receiver? What would be the strategy? Okay, so I put out a video yesterday in regards to draft strategy, right? When I'm talking about a 2 quarterback league, regardless of whether it does matter. So the value of a quarterback does fluctuate based on how many teams are in your league. So in your scenario, considering it's a 10-team league and everyone is going to have a 3rd quarterback on roster, there's less of a fervor to have to select a quarterback early in comparison to a 12-team league. That being said, in your scenario, 3rd pick, the way that I approach my drafts, regardless of whether it's a 4-point or a 6-point per passing touchdown league, if I play in a superflex format, the first 6 picks of the 1st round should be quarterback. I objectively believe that to be the case. If your league does not convey that same type of energy in regards to quarterback value, then you should probably also kind of keep it square with them. Don't jump in at quarterback too early. Potentially invest in a guy like Breece Hall in the 3rd and then get a quarterback in the 2nd and maybe even the 3rd round. I don't have an issue with that. But again, it really is dependent on what your league does. Now, if you've played in this league before, J Money, and you can go back into your league's history, like on Yahoo when we play, I can go back into league history and I can see how many quarterbacks were taken in the 1st round last year. I can see how many quarterbacks were taken within the first 3 rounds last year over the course of the last 5 seasons. And I can get a determination as to the average of what I'm anticipating to see this upcoming season to then give myself an idea of, okay, if I'm sitting at this position, should I be investing here because of the averages of what I anticipate to see? If 8 are on average being taken in the first, 15 picks, I know, okay, by the time it comes back to me in the second round, I'm probably going to get the 9th best quarterback, which is Jordan Love. I can live with that, and I can come to the realization and or justification of my selection. But if I'm you and you're playing in a league where people are going after quarterback early, I'm taking a quarterback 3rd overall, and I'm waiting and I'm addressing wide receiver, running back in that 2nd, 3rd, and going back for quarterback in the 4th. Again, I put out a super flex draft strategy video yesterday. You can check that out on the channel. Thank you. Alpha, what's up, my man? Alpha is the best. Alpha is consistently always disagreeing because that is just, he's real. He's always there, always in the comment section. It's a running joke now. Nobody take it seriously. It is a joke, but it's great. I love it. All right, let's see here. Robert in the chat was saying, Andrew, longtime homie of the channel. How do you rank quarterbacks in a 6-point per passing touchdown league? How early do you go for one? It depends. If you're playing in a 6-point per passing touchdown league and there's only one starting quarterback, you should still take him in the first round. Like, there's a thing about a 6-point per passing touchdown quarterback. Like, for example, what Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes is capable of doing this season, they're going to put up, let's say they put up 450 to 500 points. Okay, that's a pretty drastic range, but I'm just going to throw it out there, right? Because I've seen 2022 Patrick Mahomes put up 498 fantasy points. 2023 Josh Allen, I think, put up like 460, something like that. If we're going to get a range between there, okay, the difference between the number 1 and number 2 quarterback in comparison to like the number 12 quarterback is going to be like 130 points. There is very seldom a drop off from the number 1 to a number 12 at any position that is just as severe. So typically, I'd like to invest early in those scenarios. Now, if it's a 1 quarterback league and you can get away with maybe because nobody else is going to invest in quarterback in the first, you can get him in the second, get him in the second. But again, like I've mentioned before, that's like I want to address it early. Other people might want to stay safe with it, but I'm always trying to have the quarterback in a 6-point per passing touchdown league carry my squad. Let's see here. We had a question. Let's see here. World Wilder says, I got the 4th pick. Should I take Breece Hall or Amon Ra? If you're in a half PPR, I'd go Breece Hall. If you're in a full PPR, I might even take Breece Hall there as well. Yeah, I'd probably take Breece Hall there as well, to be honest. I could be convinced to take Amon in that full PPR format between the two. I have no issue with it at all. They're probably in the same tier in my rankings. But I kind of like Breece Hall there in both scenarios. When did the fantasy community change from 6-point per passing touchdown to 4-point? I couldn't even tell you. As far as I can remember, since I started playing in 2008. Yeah. Was it 2008? Yeah, 2008. Since I've been playing in 2008, the first league that I ever played in was a 6-point per passing touchdown league. That's why I still play in those kind of formats. So I want to say that it changed quite recently. Maybe there's a Google search for that or some. I know Matthew. Is it Matthew Berry? Maybe I can ask Matthew Berry. Let me see here. If I go to my Twitter followers, I'm pretty sure Matthew Berry follows me. Right? He's like the historian, if anybody. Where the heck is this guy? Yeah. He follows me. Maybe I should ask him. I'll shoot him a DM and I'll legitimately get the answer to it. Let's see what he says, because he is the historian, right? Like that's the thing. He has been playing fantasy for a long time, and he's been damn good at it too. Let's see here. Lucas says pick 2 for week 1, brother. Lucas, come on, man. James Conner against the Bills. Aaron Jones. I don't even know who Aaron Jones plays. Who's Minnesota take on week 1? Let's see here. Schedule. Minnesota. They take on the New York Giants. Oh, man, that's going to be it. Okay. Or your other option was, what was the other option, Lucas? Or Stephon Diggs against Indianapolis. Jeez Louise, Papa Cheese. I don't even want to. I don't want to even start with this, because then people are going to start asking questions about week 1. It's too early, guys. It is too early. That being said, Matt Milano tore his bicep. The Bills' run defense may not be as great. If you're playing in a half PPR, I don't even want to start. No, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I want to do it. I just don't want. Yeah, no. Lucas, you try to. No, we can't do it yet. It's too early. It's too early. Robert Rodriguez sends in a super chat. Thank you, Robert. Says, I have the 12th pick in a PPR league. If I were to go double RB, who would you pick? Gibbs, Kyron, Henry, Achane, Pacheco. So this is under the assumption that Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley are gone. If that is the case, and you're going to go double RB in the back end of a 12-team PPR league, I would like to go for ultimate upside. So what I would suggest is probably not what I have ranked. Typically, what I would have ranked under the assumption that Barkley, Bijan, Taylor, Brees, and McCaffrey are gone. Those 5 running backs are gone. Typically, I'd say take Gibbs and Kyron. But I'm almost in a position where I'm like, maybe we just take Gibbs and we take Achane and we just literally go for the ultimate upside. But cooler heads prevailing, I just tell you to take these two. Let's see here. We had a question that came from Jack H. Thank you, Jack. Says drafting 9th in a 10-team standard league. Okay. I have Jonathan Taylor as my keeper. Perfect. Am I crazy for wanting to target Saquon over J-Jet or AJ Brown, etc. in the first? No, I don't think you're crazy for doing so. Look, think about it. You are the 9th pick. So under the assumption that we have McCaffrey, well, okay, you know what? I don't even want to make an assumption because I don't even know who's being kept in your league. So if you were to take Saquon, or let's say you didn't take Saquon, he would not end up to you in the second round, right? You're daring the guy at 1.10, whoever's picking after you, you're daring them to say, hey, pick 2 wide receivers. I dare you to. In a standard league where we're getting 0 points per reception, take 2 wide receivers. Let's see what happens. And I guarantee you he's not going to. He or she, doesn't matter. They're not going to do it. They will not take JJ and they will not take AJ Brown. So if I was you, I'm taking Saquon there. They're going to probably go Justin Jefferson, followed with a running back, and then you're going to get AJ Brown in the third. That's what I'm honestly projecting to happen there. Alex Glennon says, I've been playing since 2006, and I've always been in a 4-point per pack. Okay, so I have no clue. I have no idea. What's up, Zona? How's it going? Dallas says, who has more upside this season, Sutton or Mooney? Who has more upside? How good is Bo Nix, guys? How good is Bo Nix? That's really the question. If Bo Nix is an actual proper quarterback, I would say Sutton does. Because Sutton already has the higher floor, but who has more upside? Can Mooney really finish as a top 36 ranked wide receiver in comparison to Sutton? I want to say no. I want to say, yeah, it's Sutton. It's Cortland Sutton. I think it might be a little bit safe, but I think it's actually proper that we go in that kind of scenario. Pete Johnson says, Andrew, please talk about CeeDee Lamb. I'm stressed. Pick 4. Want CeeDee, but my heart is telling me to go Jonathan Taylor or Brees Hall. If you're playing in a full PPR, I think you should probably confidently take CeeDee Lamb. Here's the thing. When we talk about Jamar Chase and Lamar Jackson, when we talk about Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb and the fact that they're holding out and the fact that they want new contracts, we can look to history, like we can look to past actions to predict future actions, right? Like the best way to predict future success is past achievement, right? So from what we have seen from the Dallas Cowboys organization and the Cincinnati Bengals organization is that Cincinnati Bengals do not pay their players in training camp. The Dallas Cowboys organization are the opposite. You guys remember a couple years back, Zeke wanted a contract. He held out. He went to Mexico. He was chilling. He was vacationing. And everyone was getting on the Tony Pollard train. I think it was a year too early anyway on Tony Pollard. But anyway, eventually, Jerry Jones folded. And that's exactly what happens every time with Jerry Jones. He will eventually fold every single time. He's going to be suited up for week 1. I have no worry about that. For Chase, it's a little different. If I'm you, I'm taking Lamb there. if you're legitimately like you have knots in your stomach, it is ruining your life, just take Breece Hall and just keep it moving. You're fine. Minshew starting for the Raiders. Adams moves up now. In a PPR, Adams was still already higher than Evans. Is he higher than Drake London now? I don't know if... Look, the issue that I have is that I don't know if Devontae... I'd have to do a little bit of research in terms of the deep ball passing game and accuracy of Gardner Minshew from last year. I'll have to look into that. But as of right now, what the heck is that? Yeah, but as of right now, I'm leaning to... Oh, that's what that is. Okay, never mind. Sorry. Yeah, as of right now, I'd probably still have him as a top 12 wide receiver. I don't think I'm moving him ahead of Marvin Harrison. I don't think I am. It would have to take a lot of data or newfound data for myself to feel more confident on the matter. Let's see here. We had a couple more questions sent in. We took care of that one. Jay Money says, think Christian McCaffrey and Mahomes go 1 and 2. Would the split change your thought process? Last year's running backs went early in the early in this 2 QB league, drafting third in a 10-teamer. Thank you. Okay. Would that change my mind? Yes, it would. So if there is a confidence that people are going to be taking quarterback early, then I'm taking Josh Allen at the 1.03 there, J Money. And I'm confidently doing so. In the second round, if you're saying last year's running backs went early, that's fine. We want to invest in wide receiver anyway. So when the second round comes back, we'll take a wide receiver there, whichever one has fallen to us, because certainly there will be one if the running back position is going far earlier than it should. And then in the third round, we can jump into the RB conversation and still get value. That's probably the way that I would approach it. But again, you could adapt. Like, let's say, for example, you select 1.03 Josh Allen. In the third round, all the running backs are getting rinsed. No, you know what? No, I wouldn't. I'd still go wide receiver there in a second. That's just a philosophy thing. If you want to go about it differently, you can. You could take, your RB in the first and just hope that, a decent quarterback returns to you in the second/third. But again, it's just a matter of what does that look like. If it's Jordan Love, I'm okay with it. If it's not, then, if it's anything less than that, like I'm not sure if I'm willing to spend a second round or third round pick on Jaden Daniels right now. Not a rookie quarterback, not yet. All right, before I get to Nel Santiago's question really quickly, let's see some of these. Sam Kim says, I'm in a 10-team league. Okay, here we go. Your team consists of Kyler, Bijan, Jamar Chase, Olave, Ferguson, Drake London, James Conner. Is this an elite team? Yahoo says I'm projected to be last. Okay, so here's the thing. I want everybody to understand this. On Yahoo, their projections as to where your team will end up is based on where they have players ranked and projected. And then they go ahead and they simulate the 17 games or the 14-game regular season to determine your schedule. Do not take those projections to heart. The long-running, legitimate, it's not even a joke at this point. The long-running history of my home league, the teams that are projected to win the league based on the Yahoo draft grade or whatever the heck it is, they always are bottom 5. Always. They miss the playoffs every season. I'm not even joking. So, with that being taken into account, don't worry about that. In the case of the talent that you were able to procure with Bijan and Chase, 2 of the top 7 players in fantasy, somehow we're able to get them on roster. Beautiful. In a 10-team league at that. Then you're still able to get guys like Drake London, top 12 wide receiver, Olave, top 15, Kyler's a top 8 quarterback, Ferguson's a top, I'd say 8 to 9 tight end. James Conner is a solid RB2, guy that, again, isn't going to have to be your RB2 every single game because I'm sure you have somebody else on your bench that can rotate on better matchups, etc., but still a solid option. Would I say it's an elite team? I think you have elite players, but as a whole, an elite team would require you to have some like James Conner would need to be replaced with like James Cook, and then we're talking elite. You know what I mean? But otherwise, a really strong team. Oscar says Jonathan Taylor is not with a 4th pick. LOL. I think you're probably talking to somebody else, Oscar. I think you were talking to somebody up there. But anyway, I don't even know. Cade says at the 1.05 today in a 10-man PPR, who are the top 5 players and who would you pick in the second round? Top 5 players in a full PPR. Christian McCaffrey, number 1. CeeDee Lamb, number 2. Tyreek Hill, number 3. Breece Hall, number 4. Jamar Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown, 5. I mean, I can really split it between the middle. I'd probably, just to be safe with contract stuff, just put Amon-Ra 5 right now if you're drafting today. I don't have a problem with it at all. Who would you take in the second round? I'd probably try to diversify. If I start wide receiver in the first, I'm taking running back in the second. If I start with a running back in the first, I take a wide receiver in the second, something like that. All right, Nels said, for all the London non-believers, London has the 5th most uncatchable targets last year. Yeah, I mean, again, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. You know what it is? I don't think it's okay. So what I actually don't believe is, it's not that people don't believe in Drake London, is that people don't like Kirk Cousins. I think that's what it is. Kirk Cousins has been good since he was in Washington. This dude has been a machine for a very long time. And yeah, okay, he's coming off an Achilles. It's not like Kirk Cousins is running wind sprints down the sideline for 400 yards. Like, it's not happening. He's just it's a different beat. He's a pocket passer anyway. Phil, what's up, Phil? Says, high stakes draft today. Home league, half PPR. 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Seems there's a consensus top 9. I've got the 10th and I got picks 10 and 11 with Puka and Gibbs. Okay, hold on, wait. Top 9 picks consensus: McCaffrey, Lamb, Hill, Hall, Chase, St. Brown, Jefferson, Bijan. Am I missing anyone? That's 8. 9 would be A.J. Brown. 10. At this point, if you're okay with Gibbs and you're not worried about the health, you can take Gibbs. Otherwise, I would probably suggest maybe being safer with Jonathan Taylor. But again, if you're okay with Gibbs, that's not a problem. And then you follow up Gibbs with the 11th pick. I'd take Garrett Wilson ahead of Puka Nacua. That's what I would do. So I'd go like Gibbs Wilson or Taylor Wilson. Thank you for the question. What's up, Colin? How's it going? Michael says, hey, man, I'm in a 12-team, 3 wide receiver, 1 flex keeper league, and I'm starting with Henry and Tyreek Hill, and have the first round pick, okay? And have the first pick. Wow, okay. And it is between Gibbs and Marvin Harrison. Who should I draft? I would take Gibbs. I take Gibbs. Higher floor, higher ceiling. Purely that's why. Yeah. Kamikaze says, hey, Andrew, I'm in a 12-team full PPR league keeper, 12-team half PPR keeper. 14 running backs are being kept off the bat. Breece, Achane, Kyron, Ford, White, Cook, Gibbs, etc. Should I reach for Jonathan Taylor at the 1.06, or should I go with Chase, Amon-Ra, or JJ? Okay, are you keeping a running back? That is the question. If you're keeping a running back, then you should If you're keeping a running back, you should go for the wide receiver. You should literally, dude. Even if you're not, I think it's. Yeah, if you're keeping a running back, you have to take a wide receiver. I wouldn't double up. Only if you were keeping let's say for example, you were keeping, I don't know. Yeah, but there's no way you're keeping Tyreek Hill or Lamb. So the best wide receivers are available. It's just a matter of what is going to be potentially there for you at 1.06. Yeah, I mean, I'm taking one of these wide receivers over JT. Andrew, I'm the 10th pick in a half PPR 12-team league. Who should I be targeting in the 1-2 turn? Thinking of Saquon and Kyron. In a 12-team league half PPR, I'm okay with it. Personally, I think I can. My only concern is what kind of wide receiver depth are you going to get in the 3rd/4th round? Is it going to be diminished to all points to where you're your first? So let's say, for example, if you're ending up, I'm not even mad at it. If you get Waddle in the 3rd, I don't even think you'll get Waddle, actually. I'm just worried that your number 1 wide receiver in a 12-team league ends up being like Metcalf. That's my legitimate fear. Or it's like Stephon Diggs and Metcalf. I don't want that. I'd rather start with Saquon with Garrett Wilson and then keep it moving. But if you feel relatively confident that the rest of your league is also going to prioritize running back to the extent to where you should see running back go in the 2nd round at a consistent rate, additionally in the 3rd round, along with both of the top 2 tight ends also potentially going in that 3rd round, then at that point, okay, I'm fine with a double RB start. But otherwise, it's a little bit sketchy for me. If you're ever going to do it, it is best to be done at the end of the first, but still very, 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 very sketchy. Let me scroll back up here. I wanted to see, Aiden said, what are your top draft positions in a 10-man league? I typically like 1.03 to 1.07, primarily because I want to have the opportunity at 1.03 to either get Tyreek Hill, Lamb, or Breece Hall. I want one of those three. Beautiful. Subsequently after, I like 1.4 all the way to 7 because I can guarantee that I'm going to get Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jefferson, Chase, or Bijan. So if I could get one of those options, great. Because especially when you go to the back end of the first round and the best receivers are like Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Marvin Harrison Jr., I like personally the running backs that typically fall to me in the second round. Like if a Kyron ends up to me and I'm at 1.05, I started with Amon-Ra St. Brown and I can scoop up Kyron in the second. Like typically I'm pretty excited about that kind of a start. What does it say? I feel safer with Cousins over Rodgers. Rodgers lineman already stepped on his foot. Close one. Yeah, you never know. But look, that's the thing. I think Rodgers is going to be fine as well. I'm not too worried about him. Randy Miller says, is it more likely a wide receiver finishes as the number one? Is it more likely a wide receiver in the second finishes as the wide receiver 1 or an RB in the second finishes the RB1? No, it's RB. It's RB. There's a higher likelihood of an RB that's selected in the second round finishing as the RB1. Mainly because Devon Achane sits in that round. And Kyron. Those are the guys that are, like, if we're shooting for the moon, those are the guys that can do it. Any drafting going on tonight? Potentially. I mean, look, I've been swarmed with enough questions to where I didn't want to sidetrack myself, and the YouTube chat was glitching a little bit earlier, so I didn't want to ignore it to an extent. So for right now, potentially, I wouldn't say there's a guarantee though. No guarantees. Thank you for the question though. Who do you prefer in a PPR, Neighbors or Rashee Rice in the 4th/5th? Oh God, that one's. Oh my God. I don't know. I think I'd rather. Damn. No, I know the answer. If it's my legitimate league, like I'm actually drafting right now and I have both available, I'm taking Neighbors. But it's not an easy choice because I Daniel Jones is rough, man. It's rough to trust that. Doggy, what's up? Says, I have the 11th pick in a 12-man PPR, 6 point per passing touchdown on Yahoo, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. Got any thoughts on a strategy on how to proceed? Thanks, my man. The 11th pick. So between your first 2 picks, I'm taking a quarterback. That's what I'm doing. So probably if it's me at the back end of the first in a PPR, like if I can get Garrett Wilson in the first or AJ Brown and then follow it with a quarterback in the second, that's what I'm doing. In the 3rd round, I'm following it up with potentially taking one of those late 3rd round running backs, which again, there's a lot of value in. Like if I've seen some crazy drafts where running backs that should not be in the late 3rd are still there. And then probably investing either in wide receiver or tight end in the beginning of the 4th, specifically because you're in the late 1st round. Andrew, drafting from the 3rd spot, half PPR, how do you approach the draft beyond round 1? So I was mentioning this earlier. If you're going to start with Hill or Lamb as your 1.03, the 2nd round is probably going to have to be running back. 3rd round is probably going to have to be wide receiver again. 4th round, if a top 15 or 16 running back is still available, you take him. If not, you take a tight end. Then you go into the 4th round and you probably go wide receiver. That's kind of how I see it in my mind's eye. But again, that's under the assumption that it breaks down the way that I see it happening. because of what I've kind of seen over the last couple weeks here. Can you get more / Pittsburgh? What is that? More Pitts and Devontae Smith or DJ Moore, Kyle Pitts, and Devontae Smith or DK Metcalf? I love that 3-4 turn. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Listen, DJ Moore, bro, it is insane where his value is at. DJ Moore is sitting at wide receiver 22. Okay, just putting this into perspective. DJ Moore, in all of his years in fantasy, he's never been less than wide receiver 22. And he's played with, all right, let me see off the top of my head if I could do this. In Carolina, he's played with Baker, Darnold, Greer, Heineke, Bridgewater, Newton. Who else is there? Did I get them all? 2, 3, 4. There's somebody else I'm missing. PJ Walker. He's played with a lot of quarterbacks and still never been less than a wide receiver 2. So the fact that he sits at wide receiver 22 right now on ADP is disgusting. And honestly, arguably he's playing with the best quarterback he's going to ever play with this season. I mean, he's played with Fields and Bagent last year and still averaged 16 fantasy points per game with Fields. It's insane. It's insane. I'm besides myself. It is ridiculous. But anyway, in terms of answering a question that was earlier, if you're at the 1.03 and you start running back like Breece Hall, I'm okay starting double running back if like Achane or Kyron falls to me, even ETN. But typically in that second, I'd like to get a wide receiver and then once again go wide receiver running back in that third. It just depends on the value that drops to you. Like if there's going to be a second round selection to where it's a top 7 running back and I drafted within the first 4 picks of the first round, I'm probably going double RB there if I have to. Or at least getting that RB in the second round, at very least. Andrew, can you please answer the question above? You had the cursor on it. Didn't I answer it just right now? Maybe there's a little bit of a delay. Is this not the one? Well, choose one? Oh, sorry. I didn't even see choose one. I have Cousins ranked higher. Yeah, I have Cousins ranked higher right now. Ray says 4th pick in a Superflex, 10-team league. Who should I take in the first and second round? Depends who's available. Let's say, for example, your league is a little bit different. Let's say the number 1 overall player takes McCaffrey. Number 2 takes CeeDee Lamb. Number 3 takes Josh Allen. At the 4th pick, I'm taking Jalen Hurts, and I'm smiling to the bank with it. In the second round, I'm taking a wide receiver. In the third round, I'm taking my second quarterback. Because I don't want to have to wait till the 4th to get someone like I don't want to take a risk and then have to take Baker in the 4th. I don't want that. So I'd rather just double up on quarterback in that position. Jay Nice, what's up, my man? Says I have pick 2 in a 12-team full PPR. Taking Hill, thoughts on taking a quarterback in the second round of the caliber of Mahomes? No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't suggest it either. Unless you're playing in a 6-point per passing touchdown league or in a super flex, I think that's too early for a quarterback by all measures. Especially, yeah, it's just too early. So for right now, I'd say you're better off just getting alternative depth at running back or wide receiver. The earliest at which you should be drafting a quarterback, considering you have the second pick, you go around. The earliest that I would ever suggest you're taking a quarterback would be that 3rd round, second pick. But even then, in a 12-team league, what is that? That's pick number 26. I think that is too rich for me as well. I think that's about 10 picks too early. But I mean, I can understand it, but I think it's a little bit too rich for me. I'd wait till the 4th/5th to address quarterback. But hey, listen, if you've got a feeling that Mahomes is going to be like 50 touchdown Mahomes this season, like he's going to go back to being himself. When I mean himself, I mean like MVP Mahomes, then I think that 3rd round is the earliest that I'd be willing to potentially invest in that kind of a prospect. Mr. Tressetto Cinco, what's up, my man? Says, my boy, glad to have you back. Let's go. Absolutely. Glad to be back. Tommy says, rate my team. I'm in a 12-team league. PPR. My quarterback is Goff. James Cook's my running back. Najee's my second running back. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Ayuk, Kelsey, Waddle. Some names on the bench consist of Amari Cooper, Dowdle, Trey Benson, and or Keon Coleman. I'm going to be honest. This is rough, man. Here's the thing. I don't love Goff. primarily because if I'm playing in a one quarterback league and it's not 6 point per passing touchdown, if my quarterback can't run the ball, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. So already not the best quarterback selection, but a consistent one. He's going to give you 17 points per week on average, right? Fine, we'll take it. He's never going to, like, he'll have the occasional game in which he puts up 12 or 11, and then he'll have the occasional game in which he puts up 24, 26, whatever. That being said, don't love the Goff pick. James Cook, I'm fine with. Najee is my RB2, I'm fine with. Amon-Ra, Ayuk, Waddle, great. Kelsey, great. Goff's really the only issue I have. And the fact that you don't have a quarterback on your bench scares me. I would have loved to potentially invest in another quarterback that could eventually maybe overtake Goff in this scenario. I think the team, as you've constructed it, prioritizing wide receiver and tight end early, getting one running back and kind of making that your hero, then dipping back in, I'm fine with it. I would have loved a little bit more running back depth besides Dowdle and Benson. That's very much so lottery ticket running backs on your bench. If anything is to happen to James Cook or Najee Harris, you're pretty much screwed. So, yeah, I would have loved one more running back that is like at least getting himself in the mix consistently, like maybe a Tony Pollard or a Tyjae Spears in the later rounds. But honestly, again, I think the biggest issue with this team is quarterback. Even then, it's consistent. He'll never get injured. He'll stay on the team. And then a little bit more running back depth would have been preferred. But otherwise, not a bad team at all. Again, a great priority stack of wide receivers in that scenario, especially considering it's PPR. Steve Watson says, how far will Jefferson fall and why hasn't it happened yet? So the primary reason why he hasn't fallen on my rankings or potentially anybody's rankings is because last season he proved to everyone in the games in which he played without Kirk Cousins as a starting quarterback that he was still a relevant fantasy option. Like if let's pull this up. So last season in games in which he played without Kirk Cousins, let's go find the numbers. Wide receiver. Let's go Minnesota, PPR. Okay, let's go find this guy, shall we? So here's the deal. Last season in a half PPR, in the games in which he played without Kirk Cousins, he had 10 targets or more in every single game. Literally 10, 10, 10, 14. Okay? And by the way, this is with Jaren Hall and Josh Dobbs as a starting. Actually, no, I don't even think. No, Josh Dobbs was gone. That's with Jaren Hall and Nick Mullins as the starting quarterbacks in those weeks, okay? The fantasy point production within those 4 games, 11.9, 23.1, 8.4, 30.0. Again, with the final 4 weeks of the season without Kirk Cousins, 18.8 something. I think it's 18.5 fantasy points per game. So he's proven with Nick Mullins and Jaren Hall that he can still be highly fantasy relevant. So that's why it hasn't fallen. Victor says, just joined Patreon. I did my draft too. Thank you. Appreciate it, Victor. Glad I can help. And hopefully, as the season goes on, we should be good to go. Look, here's the thing about what Patreon provides. For those of you who are wondering, again, there's a long list of things that as soon as you sign up for the tier, that you have access to. The most valuable thing truly is you can ask me any questions at any time of the day, unlimited rate. Like instead of having to send in these super chats, you could literally just send me a message, whatever the question is, whatever the format is, give me the context and I'll answer the question. Yes, there's a lot of people asking and I'm trying to answer literally every single one. I don't hand it off to anybody to do my work for me because again, I'm the one-man army here. But I mean, that is the in my opinion, the most valuable thing besides the rankings that you'll get on, every Thursday, Sunday, the rest of season rankings that I'll put out over the course of the season, the draft guide, the rankings for the preseason, all that jazz. You have 100% access to me. And then, of course, in that Discord server, once the season starts on Tuesday nights, we're definitely going to be doing a couple of Discord calls in regards to, of course, waiver wire and stuff like that. But I appreciate it, Victor. Thank you. Didn't DJ Moore just get paid? I thought, yeah, he did get paid. He got paid. What does that mean? That he's not going to play well anymore? Is that the correlation we're trying to make? If that's the correlation we're trying to make, then I think I can give you plentiful examples of wide receivers who have been paid and then they pop off. I mean, you go back to 2022 Christian Kirk, what happened? He was the highest paid wide receiver in that free agent market. He finished as wide receiver 11. Like You get paid doesn't mean you disappear. I don't know if that's what you were implying, but just in case. Andrew GTM says Jalen Hurts, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, AJ Brown, Waddle, Pittman, Tank, Worthy, Wicks, McBride as my starting 1 quarterback, 3 wide receiver flex league. Okay, here's what scares me, Andrew. Chase Brown and Jerome Ford. Actually, AJ Brown, Waddle. Okay, I'm fine with this. I don't have an issue with this. Jerome Ford will give enough time to where Chase Brown can either take over or be left behind. So here is where this team is going to live and die. Obviously, you've got stud wide receivers. AJ Brown, Waddle, Pittman, Tank. Those are going to be your starters, right? You were hoping that Worthy can maybe be worth something to eventually trade him for a running back. If that doesn't take place, so be it. But, or potentially even start him and trade one of these other guys. You are basically relying on the idea that Jerome Ford is able to carry the backfield for the first half of the season, the first 8 weeks, to where maybe that gives enough time for Chase Brown to pull away and be the starting number 1 running back. And honestly, I think you can get away with it here. I don't have a problem with this. Jackson, McCaffrey, Williams, Adams, Devontae Smith, Ingram, McLaurin, Neighbors. Okay, here we go. Pretty solid team there. You went 1.01, you get McCaffrey, then you finish off. Okay, the fact that you have McCaffrey, then you get Kyle Williams, and you get Adams, that's really solid. In the next round after that, you get Devontae Smith, you get Lamar Jackson, then you get Neighbors, then you get McLaurin. I don't have an issue with that. And you have Ingram. How many teams are in this league? Sip? What did I say, Andrew? I really need your help to make the pick. It's above. Thank you. Okay, Toe, where are you at? Toe says, okay. Okay, here we go. Toe Muncher says, I'm in a 2 QB, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver league, 3 flex, 6 point per passing, half PPR. I have the first pick. Who should I take between Christian McCaffrey, Josh Allen, Tyreek Hill, and CeeDee Lamb? 2 quarterback league, half PPR, first pick. Thank you. Okay. As of right now, look, this is a philosophy thing. I am always going to take quarterback first in a 2 QB league. I'm always going to do it. Now, again, if you notice or realize that your league is not built the same way that I am and my leagues are, and you want to invest in Christian McCaffrey, number 1.01, and then invest in quarterback later, you can. But me personally, I'm always going for that quarterback in the first. I will always do it. Let's see here. Scrolling up, we had a couple questions. Victor, 12-team league. Richardson, JT, Gibbs, Montgomery, okay, Ford, Algier, Cup, DJ, Hopkins, Godwin, Myers, Wicks, Bowers is my type. Okay, listen, I think Gibbs, Montgomery, Richards, geez Louise. Yeah, look, I think you can very easily get away with it. You have so much running back talent. Like being able to start JT, Gibbs, Montgomery, you've handcuffed all of the rushing touchdown upside between Richardson and JT. You've handcuffed all of the running back rushing touchdowns out of the Detroit offense. So you're pretty much just accruing all of those touchdowns. You get 2 solid wide receiver 2s that have the upside of still being wide receiver 1s potentially. Hopkins, I don't love. Godwin, I prefer way over Hopkins, which you probably took after him. I don't know. Maybe you didn't, and that's just the order which you typed it in. Bowers is okay. Again, you prioritize alternative positions, which I don't have an issue with, and we know that Brock Bowers is going to finish as a top 12 option, so I don't have an issue with that. It's a pretty solid team. Again, the biggest question mark is these two. It's Kupp and DJ Moore. And quite frankly, if it's my opinion, I have no issue with those guys being my number 1 and 2. Does it make it riskier? Yes, but quite frankly, I'm comfortable with those 2 options personally. This question right here just caught my eye. Etienne or Drake London? 11th pick, 12-man full PPR keeper league. Is Brees in the 6th? Okay, first pick is most likely Saquon or Jonathan Taylor. Okay, so I'm confused as to what the follow-up question is. So you're saying like, okay, you're picking between either Saquon and JT. Under the assumption, let's say you take Jonathan Taylor, Saquon is probably going to go next after you, and then because of that, you won't have the ability to take him with your next pick, which if that's going to be the case and that's the implication, then sure. So then if the next question after that is, Are we taking Drake London or ETN, considering you have Jonathan Taylor and Breece Hall already on roster? I'm taking Drake London just because I need to balance the team. I don't think I can afford to have 3 running backs on roster within technically my first 3 picks. And yeah, that's tough. I don't think I can. I mean, I like the value of ETN there, but I'm going London, especially if it's a PPR. I'm going London. Do I take Devon Achane? Do I take Devon Achane for second round? Yes. Yeah, I don't have an issue with that. 11th pick, 12th team on Sleeper. First 5 rounds. What do you recommend? 11th pick, either Jonathan Taylor or Garrett Wilson. And then subsequently after, you take the opposite position in the next round. So if you start Garrett Wilson, you finish off with running back in the second. If you start Jonathan Taylor, you get a wide receiver in the second. And then you just kind of build from there on forth. I think, look, it's just a matter of what players you are looking to try to build your team around. Like, if it's me and I'm in the 11th spot, 12-team league, legitimately, I probably end up taking... I gotta think about this. 11th pick, 12-team, first 5 rounds. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm probably gonna take a wide receiver at 1.011 because I don't care which running back returns to me, whether it's Saquon or Jonathan Taylor. I'll take either of the two. I take that player. I go into the 3rd round. I probably go with wide receiver in the 3rd. Tight end in the 4th, beginning of the 4th, assuming, of course, Sam Laporta is still available and or Kelsey. If they're not, I'll probably go I'll go running back in the 4th. So at that point, I'll have a 2-2 distribution. Then in the 5th, I'll take quarterback and then tight end in the 6th. That's probably the way I go about it. Let's see. What do we have here? We have Cam Got Kicks. It says 10-team full PPR. Lamb, Drake London, Achane, Josh Allen, Kelsey, Rachaad White. What do we have here? Lamb, Drake London, Achane, Josh Allen, Kelsey, Rachaad White, Pickens, Cooper, Montgomery. Okay, so you have the best quarterback on roster. Your starting running backs being Achane and Rachaad White, I don't have an issue with. Again, you have to remember, Achane's a top 10 running back, and Rachaad White is probably top 13 or 14 as it currently stands, and in a PPR is very much so going to benefit from his receiving utilization. He's pretty much the younger version of he's pretty much just Alvin Kamara at this point. He's just going to get himself, he's not going to get himself 80 receptions like Alvin Kamara did in the first 3 years, but you never know. I mean, really, he's going to get himself a lot of utilization. So I have no issue with those running backs. Lamb and London, 2 of my top 12. Like, where's the complaints here? I really, if you're going to continue to get the top quarterback, a top 2 tight end, 2 top 12 wide receivers, 2 top 14, 13 running backs, again, I have no room to complain. There's no issues here. Montgomery and Pickens can be your flex. You've got good depth to where if injuries take place, bye weeks, you have other alternative options. Again, the way I see it, I don't have an issue. Obviously, Liam says it's not good. I don't see how this is not good. 2 top 12, 2 top 12, 2 top 2. Like, brother, it's literally like baked in value. You're literally cashing on value to the highest degree there. Advice on auction drafts: spend wisely. Yeah. It's like saying, yeah, I mean, it's like advice on eating: chew well. Yes, chew. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's literally the same kind of thing. Spend wisely. Here's the thing. The biggest advice that I could give on an auction draft, as someone who doesn't draft in auction leagues, draft players that you objectively just want. Pay up for players you want. That's it. That's all it is. Benny G, what's up? Says, good day, Andrew. Ready for a huge year. Thank you. Appreciate it. Can you do a 10-team draft full PPR? I don't think we're going to draft today. When did the stream start? I think the stream started... let's see. Where did it start? The stream started around 2:20. We've been here for about 2 hours. I think I'll probably call it in like 10 minutes here. Primarily because, let me think about this. How do I want to do this in the next couple days? I want to stream more often. Can I stream tomorrow? I got to think about this. But yeah, usually the way that I sit here, I have like a 2 to 3. My limit on streams is 3 hours. That's where my brick wall hits. Because otherwise, you know what I'd love to do? I love to stream games. Dude, if only the DMCA, if only it wasn't so powerful. Otherwise, I'd love to put the games behind me and we watch them together and I show you guys what the heck I see in comparison. But anyway, let's get to some more questions before I start drifting off. Steven says, hi, Andrew. Asking for the best approach in my upcoming draft. 12-team league PPR, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex, 2 running backs, 1 tight end, 6 point. Oh my God. Okay, so if you're, Steven, if you play with people that really just do not draft early early quarterbacks, that's fine. I don't know where you pick in your 12-team league. Personally, I would try to get away with a quarterback within the first 2 rounds. And I would like one that's a top 5 player. Specifically, if I can get a top 2 at the position within the first 2 rounds, beautiful. Subsequently after, because of the PPR format and the fact that there are 2 flexes, I might just try to go and grab like a wide receiver in the second. Okay, so let's say, for example, I take a wide receiver in the first, like an Amon-Ra. And in the second round, I'm able to get myself one of those top 3 quarterbacks, regardless of who it is, Allen, Hurts, Mahomes. Assuming everyone is numb to the idea of drafting a 6 point per passing touchdown quarterback, which they shouldn't be, but they are nonetheless. Subsequently after, if you're able to get up a third round running back and then just omega stack wide receivers, henceforth after that, I think that's a pretty good play. You're pretty much just going like hero QB, hero RB, heavy wide receiver, jump back into the quarterback conversation. Once you have witnessed the board really start to work and the top 12 to 15 are gone, you can jump back in, maybe go grab a Kirk Cousins, maybe go grab a Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa as your second quarterback. I don't think it's a bad idea. 916 Entertainment, or I don't even know if it doesn't matter. 12-team league. 1 keeper, full PPR, Nico Collins in the 9th or Dalton Kincaid in the 11th. Nico Collins in the 9th or Dalton Kincaid in the 11th. I think I'm keeping Nico Collins in the 9th. Look, the only reason I say that is because I do believe I don't even know your league. I'm going to assume not a lot of tight ends are being kept. I'm going to assume maybe at most it's Laporta and McBride. And that's not an issue because I typically do see Nico Collins come off the board far earlier than Kincaid. I think there's an opportunity in which you could still draft Kincaid in this league while keeping Nico in the 9th. Jeff Miller, how does a 6 point per passing touchdown, 1 point per passing, 20 yards impact quarterback? Okay, here's the thing. So here's the deal. If you play in a league where, yes, you're getting 6 point per passing touchdown and 1 point per 20 passing yards, Mahomes is 1.01 and it's not even close. And the rushing quarterback, are they faded? Okay, so let's see here. Pulling up a calculator. So theoretically, if a quarterback's going to throw for 4,000 yards divided by 20, you get 200 points in comparison to the potential of divided by 25. So we're getting an additional, oh goodness gracious, that is major. You're getting an additional 20% of value per the passing yardage. Additionally, you're getting an additional, what is that? 33% on passing touchdown potential. Yeah, I mean, again, if it's a 1 quarterback league, I'm taking my quarterback in the first round. I would love to get Mahomes, Allen, Stroud, Burrow. The pocket passers. That's what I would look for. Let's see here. Need a wide receiver badly. Trade Montgomery for Terry. Running backs are Jacobs, Kamara, Montgomery, Raheem. Wide receivers are Chase, Reed, and Palmer. I wouldn't even make a trade there. I wouldn't. Look, here's the thing. I don't want to move Montgomery. If I'm moving a running back, it's Raheem Mostert, and I'm going to get a wide receiver. I legitimately do believe that Reed can be your guy all season as your wide receiver too. I have no issue with him there. You may not see it as such, but I do. I think he's by far and away the best receiver for Green Bay. Additionally, on top of that, considering how much success he found in year one and the fact that he was able to do so in such inconsistent usage games, he is going to be clear and away the number one wide receiver of this offense. Sure, there are going to be weeks where other wide receivers find explosive performances like a Watson or a Wicks and or a Dobbs, but generally speaking, Reed should be the number one. That all being said, if you are wanting to make the trade because Chase is also in that kind of limbo and you're worried primarily about that, then sure, but I don't know if I don't think I'm trading Montgomery for McLaurin. I'd want more. Like at this point, I'd go ask the guy who has Metcalf what he wants. That's what I would be talking about at this point. Because Montgomery last season with Gibbs in the lineup was averaging 12.91 fantasy points per game and a half PPR. Okay. Metcalf is in that same range of scoring. Actually, he averaged less than that. So if you're going to give me a wide receiver that's in exchange for my running back that is attached to Gibbs and Gibbs is already injured, I better be getting something that's significantly better than Terry. And I don't even dislike Terry. I think Terry's underwhelming. He's undervalued this upcoming season, and he'll probably outproduce a lot of the potential projections. But yeah, I'd look for more in exchange. Thoughts on Caleb Williams being a top 12 quarterback? If he runs for more than 250 yards, he'll be in the conversation. He's got to run, though. He's got to use his legs. How often do you stream? During August, typically never. This is the first season that I've streamed in August on a consistent rate. And when I say consistent, I mean, I think this is the second time this week. So not that often. During the season, 2 to 3 times a week. I'm looking to try to make it 5 to 6 times a week. That's kind of the goal right now. Jared says, number one pick in a super flex. Do I go Christian McCaffrey or quarterback? I'd take Josh Allen. I would take Josh Allen. That's just me personally. Again, it is purely just a matter of the leagues that I play in. If I don't take a quarterback in the first and I take Christian McCaffrey, oftentimes what I will receive in the second round, like, okay, hold on, wait. Let me show you guys an example, just really quickly, just for context, okay? We did a stream the other day, and we did a Superflex draft on Sleeper, okay? Just to give you some perspective, okay? The volume of quarterbacks taken in the first round: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 quarterbacks taken in the first. In the second round: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 13 quarterbacks were taken in the first 2 rounds. So under the assumption that you are not able to select, or you do not select Josh Allen 1.01, you have to be okay and live with the idea that your QB1 is going to be Jaden Daniels. Because when I'm looking at this draft that we did the other day, that's exactly what took place. So as it stands currently, yeah, I mean, I'm taking a quarterback at 1.01. That's what I'm doing. Because I'm looking at this, right? Maybe I can stream this. Yeah, let me try. Give me a second, guys. So if we go here. Okay, so I'm gonna adjust this really quickly just so we're on the same page. So I want to move this over. Okay, so here's the thing, right? Over there, 1.01 right here. Okay, you can see my cursor. They took McCaffrey. Okay, they went with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams back to back. If you go Josh Allen here, theoretically, okay, you have the access to Gibbs. Look at this. Who else was available? That's not what I wanted to do. That wrong screen. That's why. Gibbs, Kyron Williams, Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Marvin Harrison, ETN, London, Adams, Evans. Look how much available talent there is to get at this turn. You can go Josh Allen here in the first and get two. You can get Gibbs and Garrett Wilson here on the turn, and then come back and get a quarterback here. You can absolutely do it. Is it going to be a lesser valued quarterback? Absolutely, but still, I mean, at least you got yourself 2 top 10 players at running back and wide receiver. Again, it is up to how you want to build your team. I'm always in the favor of going quarterback first. That is what I typically like to hang my hat on in terms of the approach. All right, where are we at? Let's bring back up the chats. Let's do that really quickly. Boom. Okay. We had a question that was sent in via Super Chat. Thank you very much. Jared says, number 1 pick in a Superflex. Yeah. So to answer your question, you can go McCaffrey. Just understand, typically, the 12th or 13th or 14th best quarterbacks are available on that 2-3 turn. And if you can live with those guys being your starting quarterbacks, go for it. Okay. What does it say? How big is kicker going to be? And a good kicker is how... Huh? Okay, good one. Reed, not enough volume. Yeah, he doesn't need to have enough volume. That's the thing. The rate at which they scored touchdowns last year for the Packers and the fact that they'll probably continue to be just as successful of an offense, he's still going to be of value. Like, I'm not saying he's a top 15 wide receiver, but the team that guy drafted to have Reed as his number 2 took positional advantage at specifically quarterback and running back and took the discounted wide receiver. But Reed's still going to be a top 30 wide receiver. That's just what it is. There's always that one guy that drafts Justin Tucker early. Let me tell you who that guy is on your team. That's typically the first person that goes AFK, away from keyboard, and auto drafts. That's typically when that happens. Still high on Jacobs. I think I have Jacobs as my number 11 or 12 back right now. I don't think I'm high on him. He used to be my number 8. He could still very easily finish as number 8. The only reason I moved him down stomps is because every time I broached the conversation of Josh Jacobs, it was always with the caveat of when Josh Jacobs is healthy. And that hurts because if you're not healthy, again, availability is the best ability, right? I presume bold predictions video. Yeah, that'll probably happen September 1st. I've already got it scheduled out. All right, let's answer a couple more questions. Then I'm going to go ahead and bow out here. I do appreciate you guys coming through, supporting the channel. Again, guys, if you guys want my 2024 Fantasy Football Draft Guide, the rankings that are, of course, associated with that, and additionally, rankings every single Sunday morning for the remainder of the season, all positions, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, kicker, defense, flex, half PPR, full PPR. You can check out Underdog, just like it says right here. Travel to their website. Specifically, when you sign up for the first time and make that first time deposit ever of $10 minimum, you'll get all of that access. So Underdog or myself will send you the email that'll send you the link to download the PDF file for the draft guide. Then I will subsequently later that day send you the updated rankings in a Excel spreadsheet so that you can utilize them in your upcoming draft. Maybe you have one monitor where it's your draft. The other monitor has the Excel spreadsheet so that you can go back and forth in terms of determining what you want to draft, whatever. Outside of that, I think really the only other option would be Patreon. You can check that out. Pledge support monthly. You can gain all that access and much more. Like I was mentioning earlier, on Patreon, you can ask me unlimited questions over the course of the season. So if that's something that interests you, check that out. Obviously, one deposit of $10 in comparison to $20 a month, there's a big difference. That's why people typically prefer the Underdog route, and I have no problem with that again. But yeah, if you've already done that, you've already made a first-time deposit in the past with somebody else or myself in prior seasons, then you would go to the Patreon. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay. Answering a couple more questions. What's your favorite quarterback? It depends. What are we talking about? Fantasy quarterback or just quarterback in general? If we're talking about favorite fantasy quarterback, based on current value, right now it's Jordan Love. You've been hitting the weights? Yes. Yep. I haven't been able to lift as often in the last 2 weeks here because of how much, video creation. But I'd say from late January of last year till the beginning of August, was lifting 5 times a week. Yep. Pretty good stuff. Would you take wide receiver Rice or Worthy for Montgomery if Mahomes was your QB? No. Montgomery's more valuable. He just is. He really just is. Especially considering he is the most valuable handcuff in fantasy. Breezy says, Andrew, who are your favorite picks between 9 through 12 in a PPR, assuming the top 3 running backs and top 5 wide receivers gone on the board? Okay. So under that assumption, right, the best available pick in a full PPR format is either Jonathan Taylor, A.J. Brown, or Garrett Wilson. Those are my 3 favorite picks there. The order at which you go about it is going to be dependent on how you want to build your team. If you're more comfortable with second round running backs than you are with second round wide receivers, then you kind of adjust accordingly. So if you're okay with if you're okay with having someone of the caliber of Drake London be your wide receiver 1, then you can start Jonathan Taylor and be perfectly fine there. But if you're like, hey, I don't really love the potential of that, I'd rather just grab Garrett Wilson in the first and get like Kyren Williams in the second, go for it. I think that's great as well. Okay, let's see here. 12-man, 11th pick mocks I've done. I love going to RBs. Yeah, listen, that's fine. Listen, here's the thing. 2RB is great, especially the value at which you're getting considering how many wide receivers go in the early first. The only caveat to this is that you are going to take a discount on wide receiver. It's just a matter of how big of a discount is that going to theoretically be. Like if your league is going to if your league ends up drafting like the Underdog leagues that I play in end up drafting and wide receiver is immediately annihilated off the board, you can't get away with it. But if you're playing in a normal league, everyone is drafting running back at a consistent rate, then yeah, that's not a bad idea at all. It's actually quite a good idea based on the value. Brees or Bijan in a half PPR. Greatly prefer Brees Hall. Greatly. Atlanta has the easiest strength of schedule. Strength of schedule at what? At running back? Because that is not that's not a correct statement. Here's the thing, guys. I've said it before in the past, and I say it in all of my strength of schedule videos. The way that I calculate strength of schedule in comparison to others is vastly different. But with people, okay, look, as of right now, technically Atlanta on my board has the 4th easiest strength of schedule at running back. Okay. So it's not far off, but the way that I calculate it purely has to do with the fact that I'm isolating rushing statistics only, because the running back matchup against the team does not indicate whether or not they're going to get more or less fantasy production off of receiving statistics. When you look at the whole season, whether it's the best teams or the worst teams, whether it's teams that highly target or barely target their running backs, regardless of matchup of who they're playing, it does not matter in terms of the strength of schedule. So you have to just ignore that, and you have to just isolate it to rushing statistics only. But anyway, moving on. A couple more questions before we close out today's video. Boom. Andrew, I got the last pick in a 10-team PPR league. What would your approach be? Yeah, Jonathan Taylor plus A.J. Brown. If Jonathan Taylor's gone, A.J. Brown plus Saquon. If A.J. Brown's gone, Jonathan Taylor's available. JT plus Garrett Wilson. So basically, I want a combo of any of the 4 of Taylor, Saquon, Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown. So just get 2 of those 4. And you're in a pretty good spot. I've seen Jacobs fall to 311 / 312. John, I've seen him fall further. I'm not even joking. Let me go find it. Yesterday, I did a draft, and I swear to God, he fell to the 6th round. I couldn't believe it. Where is this guy? Underdog. Let me see here. Again, there's so much value you can get at running back later in drafts when people are highly prioritizing wide receivers. It is ridiculous. Let me see here. So if I go to my league, I drafted this one yesterday. Let's open this sucker up. Let's go to the draft board. Close this thing out. Open the draft board. Josh Jacobs, where art thou? Where'd this guy? Yeah. Sorry. Okay. He was pick 49 overall, beginning of the 5th round. That's the crazy stuff. I mean, it is nuts. What the heck is that? Okay, so we're done there. Okay, moving on. A couple more questions, and then we're heading out. Enjoy your night. Thank you, Robert. Thank you very much. CJ says, I'm in a 2-quarterback full PPR league. Would you keep Kirk Cousins with a 3rd rounder? 20 quarterbacks are going within the first 3 rounds. A lot are being kept. What is your alternative keeper option? So who else could you keep if not Kirk Cousins? So what's the alternative? And also, do you know when you pick in the 1st round? How do you feel about a hand as RB1 than a guy like Montgomery as or Ramondre. How do you feel about Hand as RB1? Who's Hand? Is that an autocorrect? Should I accept Jacobs for Pacheco? I want to have Pacheco there. I prefer Pacheco right now. Insane value? Yeah, it is insane value. 12 team PPR, 6 point per passing touchdown, 1.01, 1.02. Who do I draft? Who would you draft? At 1.01 in a 6 point per passing touchdown league, Josh Allen, number 2, I would take Mahomes. Curious Kid says, Andrew, 2 weeks ago, I drafted Pittman in the 3rd round over ETN in London. Am I cooked? No, not technically. Again, like I said earlier, we will not know until the end of the season whether you're legitimately cooked. So, fingers crossed, Anthony Richardson is going to completely dominate the league. He's going to be the new, he's going to be the MVP. The Colts win the division. And Pittman, 15 touchdowns. I don't know. Positive. That's all I'm saying. Just think positively. It's happened. Who cares? Keep moving. We're going to hope for the best, right? PPR league. What type of ranking do you have Swift and Ramondre at? And Najee? Let me check. Real quick. Let's go here. So in my latest rankings that I updated, I have... sorry, I'm looking at my monitor. Let me check this. So we have Ramondre at 19, Najee at 20, and DeAndre Swift at 22 in a half PPR. If Jalen Warren's hamstring injury is more serious than anticipated, then I would then say Najee Harris will jump Ramondre in that category. Where's CJ? George Pickens in the 14th, missed type, no problem. So if a lot of quarterbacks are going in the first 3 rounds and a lot are being kept, you probably just have to keep Kirk Cousins. The thing is, I don't mind Kirk Cousins in the third round. I think typically he deserves to be a 4th round draft pick in a super flex format, but considering the circumstance of it being a keeper league, it kind of, the onus is on you to take the risk or to just play it safe with keeping him. And unless you, so like, let's say for example, you don't keep him, right? The chances are you're going to have to go 1st round and 2nd round quarterback because you don't have any. And if other people are also following suit, you're probably going to get a lesser option than Kirk Cousins, or you'll have to, waste your 1st round selection on Kirk before you even get to the 3rd. So I'd probably just keep him, which again isn't sexy, but in terms of strategy, I think it's the proper thing to kind of go about it. Tom Hogan says, PPR redraft, what type of rank? Okay, we already took care of that. Mustafa, what's up, man? What's up, Andrew? Another year listening to your wisdom. Appreciate it. Need to know who I should pick between CeeDee Lamb and Bijan Robinson in half PPR. If you're drafting like today, I have no issue drafting CeeDee Lamb. No issue at all. I legitimately do think that they're going to sign him. And that's not even just positively thinking. That's just based on what Jerry Jones does. That being said, if you have a legitimate concern about it, I have no issue with Bijan Robinson being the 1.02 and a half PPR at all. No issue. If it's a full PPR, I'd say you have to take CeeDee Lamb there. But for right now, if it's me and it's my team, I'm taking Lamb. Who's your breakout? No one is talking about. Let's think about this. Look, here's the thing. When you say no one is talking about, I don't consume other fantasy content. So I just thought to myself, who are other people talking about to know that who they're not talking? Like, I don't know who they're talking about. I'm in my own echo chamber, right? So I don't even know where to even begin in that scenario. I can tell you who I really like right now. Like, more as the days go on, I'm getting more and more impressed and potentially will find myself drafting Brian Thomas Jr. in a lot of drafts this season. I think that's where, I don't know if that's, if that counts. If that doesn't count, Jonnu Smith. If that doesn't count, I'll go really, really deep and I'll go Jonnu Smith. The train is starting to pick up. You either get on board, because I'm conducting this thing, you either get on board or we're leaving you behind. Malachi Corley or Xavier Legette. I'd rather have, sorry, Malachi Corley or Legette. I'd rather have Legette. I'd rather have Legette primarily because the data on first round wide receivers is really strong in terms of being able to be top 36 ranked. And if in fact we're in a scenario where something is to happen to Deontay and, Legette is going to be the primary outside receiver in the X within the offense, and then somehow Thielen, not, obviously getting up there in age, isn't going to be as highly utilized, I think Xavier is probably the better option of the two. And also, I don't love at all the idea of Aaron Rodgers with the rookie wide receivers. I know that Christian Watson technically broke the terrible streak of lack of success from the rookie wide receivers with Aaron Rodgers, but I'm not too keen on that. Nico in the 4th, Tank Dell in the 5th. Should I trade for Nico? Should I look to trade Nico for Devontae or DK? No, Nico's better. Or should I let it ride? No, let it ride. Honestly, if I was you, I would have also stacked it with CJ Stroud and went all in. But that's a different conversation for a different time. CJ, thank you very much. Appreciate it, my man. Curious Kid says, I'm thinking about packing Kincaid plus Zamir White for a top 10 running back. I already have Andrews, and I'm mainly drafting Kincaid to drive. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, let's do it. Absolutely. I think that if you can get away with that, Curious Kid, I would 100% go for that, for sure. How do we feel about Adam Thielen this year? Had some nice weeks last year. No, he didn't just have nice weeks. He had a good first half of the season. He was great. And then once, in fact, they fired Frank Reich in that entire coaching staff that was kind of like the primary play callers, he disappeared. So with the new implementation of Dave Canales, the thing about Dave Canales is the last two offenses that he has been the primary, like either passing game coordinator or offensive coordinator, has been Seattle 2022 and Tampa Bay 2023. In both of those offenses, they did not heavily feature a slot receiving option. So, when we go back to Seattle, it was DK and it was, of course, Lockett on the outsides. You go last season, Mike Evans on the outside, and they moved Chris Godwin from primarily playing in the slot role to the outside, and they put Trey Palmer in the slot. So I'm assuming that the slot receiving role is not going to be as heavily influential within the Carolina Panthers offense. So Thielen, again, I'm not too big on his potential upside. Honestly, I think there might be a chance where Thielen gets traded this year to another team. I actually think that's a possibility. If a team has a wide receiver that gets injured and they're like still in that win now mode, I could see Thielen being traded. Who would be a top quarterback in your league where rushing is plus 50%? The top quarterbacks, really, okay, hold up. Just for clarification, Paul, Weasley, are you saying plus 50% off yardage or off of additional touchdowns as well? Like, are we getting 6 point per rushing touchdown and then like 1 point every 5 rushing yards? Like, what's the deal on that? Just curious. Who are we taking with the 4th pick? Breece Hall. Assuming that the top 3 are McCaffrey, Lamb, and Hill, we're taking Breece Hall. John says, how do we feel about Houston wide receivers? Diggs falling. I don't hate the value. I don't hate it at all. I don't hate it. Listen, I do not mind the value of all 3 Houston wide receivers because I might be overvaluing Stroud's potential this year, but I think he could legitimately keep all 3 within the top 25 value. I think he could support them all. Josh Reynolds might have to be the best. Josh Reynolds might have the best season ever. Greg Dortch too. I'm not too keen on Greg Dortch, primarily because Arizona likes to run a lot of 12 personnel. And with 12 personnel, with Trey McBride and Elijah Higgins, if I'm not mistaken, or Hodgins, I don't know who's their second tight end. I think it's Higgins, Elijah Higgins. They like to run a lot of 12 personnel. So it's going to be a lot of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson on the field. So Greg Dortch is only going to be brought in on 11 personnel sets, which I don't think they really run at a vast kind of count. Let me see here. So if I let me go to my player personnel tendencies really quickly. So last season, the Arizona Cardinals, in terms of 11 personnel, where's their 12 personnel tendencies? Let's go to Arizona. 12 personnel. Yeah, 12 and 13 personnel. Jeez Louise, man. They ran it, what is that? 30, almost Jeez Louise. 34.5% of the time? That's a pretty gnarly number. So if we can live with Dortch not being on the field for a lot of the plays, then sure, but I don't know. Josh Reynolds, though, that's the thing. Josh Reynolds, I don't even know if he's going to start. Like, Cortland Sutton's going to start. They brought in Reynolds. He's going to have to compete with Marvin Mims. Like, if Bo Nix can be a legit quarterback, then sure. But otherwise, CJ Stroud or Kyler in a Superflex, I'd rather have CJ Stroud. Who would be the last QB you would want in a second, as your second in a 2 QB league? The last QB I would want. Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield. But that's like pushing it. Otherwise, really, the last quarterback I would want is Stafford and or Kirk Cousins. Okay, did I miss anything? I was waiting for Paul. He says, nah, yardage is plus 0.15 per yard. Oh, goodness. Okay, so let me pull out the calculator. So you're telling me that if somebody has, let's say, for example, 100 rushing yards times, well, actually, it wouldn't even be times. You get an additional 1.5 points per yard. So I don't even know what the math adds up to. My brain's fried. We're almost on 3 hours. Okay, anyway, this is what we're going to do. I think that's what I'm going to call it. My brain's getting fried. We've been here for 2.5 hours. Thank you, everybody, for coming along, asking questions, participating. For those of you guys who sent in super chats, click the like button. Very appreciated. For those of you who were in the chat answering, asking questions to me, answering questions for others, just participating, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys. Again, a couple things. Tomorrow we'll, of course, have a video come out around noon. This upcoming week, it's going to be a lot of rankings updates. So starting probably Wednesday into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, rankings at every single position: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and flex rankings. So keep an eye out for those. If you guys want my rankings, stuff like that, here or Patreon, it's also, all of the information is in the description of the video. Check it out if you guys are interested. Perfectly good to go. 5 extra points for 100 yards. 5 extra points per 100 yards. It's not that big of a difference then. I wouldn't say that it's yardage. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's the craziest volume. But anyway, my brain's fried. Thank you. Appreciate it. Again, if you guys have signed up for Underdog earlier today, I am going to go send out the emails at 6:01 p.m. PST once I get the update and all that good to go. All right, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday night. And I will be back tomorrow, hopefully, with a video and maybe even a live stream. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cue the double helix, the one and only. And until next time, I'll see you guys. Peace.